Welcome to another Ammach interview, and I guarantee there's something for everybody in this one. I'm here with the lovely Hilary Porter, who's had a lifelong experience of many things, too many to go into in my introduction, and I'm going to let her tell you all about it. And it begins in the late 1940s and has continued up until today. Not only just herself, but her daughter as well. Now, Hilary was an electronic engineer draftsman working at Marconi at the time of a huge security breach in 1974, which, as she will tell you, was not of this earth. Thank you for watching another Ammach video, and I'm going to hand you over to Hilary in just a moment, 2, 1. Hilary, welcome to an Ammach interview, and thank you very much for your kindness. Now,
it's a pleasure.
We researchers, myself, I'm not an abductee and I haven't had experience, but I am passionately driven by this, your story. But you're also a researcher, Hilary.
Yes, I am.
And what is your project that you set up with your partner, Ken Parsons?
It's the British Earth and Aerial Mystery Society. Ken was running the society before we got together, but it's now 20 odd years old. But I've always been a researcher myself, and so we just pulled it all together. And
it's also known as BEAMS.
Yes, it is BEAMS.
Wonderful. And your base is here also in Farnborough?
Yeah. And yes, he was very. He helped me when I was very scarred from the abductions and things to actually go and talk about it.
Right, lovely. So I'm going to take a little break here, and we're going to come back in 2 seconds, and we're going to hear from Hilary herself. Hilary, your story is absolutely fascinating, and perhaps you could tell us, because you were taken right from babyhood, what your mother actually had to tell you about that. Yes, maybe that's a good place to start.
Indeed, it was only just over 4 years ago, and Mother was put into a comatose kind of state, which she was petrified, really absolutely petrified, and she would scream and no one could hear her or anything, and she knew something was happening to me, I was being taken, or she could do nothing to prevent this. Nothing.
Can I just ask, Hilary, sorry to interrupt, do you mean 4 years ago she actually told you for the first time?
Yes, she never told me, and I always had this disjointed thing, and when I was going on to the Rich Planet thing to make the documentary I did, she said, there is something I need to tell you because it doesn't gel, does it? And I said, no, it doesn't. And where was my mummy? Where was she when I needed her the most? And I've always wondered where you were. And she said, well, now I can tell you. She said, it's scaring the hell out of me, but I will tell you. And she told me that this is what was happening to her.
Quite traumatic for her.
Again, yes.
Yeah.
It really was. Yeah, I felt poor Mum.
Yeah. Okay, so let's tell us about what she would see happen to you.
Well, from a tiny child, she didn't know about the bedroom visitors because I wouldn't know how to explain it anyway. And they used to materialise through the wall of my bedroom, and they had robed figures in robes, and they would seem to walk across and then through the next wall, as it were. And I couldn't work out what on earth was going on at 2 years old.
At 2 years old, did they seem like people to you?
Yes, they did. They seemed a bit like perhaps biblical figures, something like that. And then just from time to time, they would turn the wall in my bedroom like into a cinema screen, and you would see images, strange things. You weren't sure quite what it was because you were too young.
Yes.
But I don't know what they think our little brains are able to cope with.
Yeah.
Anyhow, then one day they started to introduce this ball thing that they brought in with them. It floated, but they could sort of, with their arms, they could make it sort of do all this sort of thing, go up and down and change colour, and then they sort of like, so I put my hand out, and yeah, sure, and I could make it do that, and I got the feeling they were perhaps trying to educate me in some way into using my mind in some way, you know, because I'm so tiny. I mean, but then I do think I'm not, you know, I do think I am different in many ways, really.
So that's sort of when the ball seemed to, would you say, would levitate
Yes,
with your hand underneath it?
Yeah, well, the thing
and
was,
change
it was
colour.
in the air, but you could control it by a little bit by moving your hand up and down, or going like this, and it would go like that. And for a kiddie, you know, a little kid, that was fun. You know, you thought, wow, hey, and then, you know, that was enough.
And who was it that was showing you these things?
These figures, these
the road
figures,
sort
yeah, yeah, and then they would just go on, room back into darkness, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then Mum said I had Manny Man, who she thought was real to me, because I'd spend hours sitting on the garden step talking and things with him, and she thought, I'm sure she can see who it is she's talking with, but she couldn't see him.
So this Manny Man, do you remember
I have no
any of the
recall.
conversations? No.
They've taken that, and they've taken all recall of when I went missing in the garden, and because that started as well, and they'd shorn the garden up, my parents, so I couldn't get out, but somehow I was out, I was gone, but then Mother was put into this state again where she couldn't move. And
what sort of age would you have been at this time, Hilary?
About 2.5.
Only 2.5, a wee one.
Started.
Yes.
And then she'd have to get on her bike and cycle all around the streets. And
so where would you be found?
Well, I was found, yeah, exactly. Well, I was found in a place that's still there today, in Cove in Farnborough, called Rathborough. And it's another housing estate they made for the Air Force men that worked on the airfield at Farnborough. The Royal Aircraft Establishment.
Yeah. So the time period that we're looking at now is around about 1948, 49, possibly 50.
Yes, yep, exactly.
So again, really interesting in the times, because we've got lots about contactees as adults around this time in America, like George Van Tassel and George Adamski and that. But we don't hear about the children very much at all.
No, we don't.
So this is amazing at that time.
Yes, and so it stayed with me all the time. I say it was about 1951 coming up, when I had my first real abduction, because it was then that I saw. I went down into the field near where I lived, and I saw this disc. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't a clue, but it was there. This thing in a bit of a dip in the ground, shall we say? And I'm looking at it, and the inquisitive little what's it that I was. And I laid down in the grass, and I'm splayed out like this, moving and poking my head up and everything. And then suddenly, in front of me is a reptilian. It's what we call a reptilian today. The only way I could explain it was like a tortoise, in the sense that his skin was all scaly, and he was very, very strong, and not only about 5 foot, something like, very, very strong, and he dragged my arms and pulled me across the ground and under this craft. It had a tube underneath, and we went into this tube, and everything was dark. They don't need light at all. And we went up into a round chamber where it looked like consoles and lights and things, and you could just see figures moving in the dark, back and forth. Then suddenly they stripped me of my clothes, threw me onto some sort of surface, and started with this very nasty, sharp, puncturing thing, and digging from my feet upwards and upwards and upwards. Well, I don't remember anymore. I just screamed and screamed and screamed, and the flashback, as it were, stops there, and that's all I can remember.
So how old would you have been at that time, Hilary?
About 5.
About 5 years. That's a fairly extreme experience for a 5-year-old.
It was indeed. It took a lot. I was really very scared, but.
And did you have memory recall of that immediately or generally, or did it then
Oh, I had none whatsoever.
at that time?
The only recall, the only memory, there was nothing at all till '94 when I had the crisis abduction.
Okay.
And they took me down the timeline right the way through and only allowed what they wanted me to know of each abduction or what went on. And then I came right back to 5 years old and they replayed it like sepia film.
Really?
And I'm seeing it like that, and I'm laying in this bed here, and I'm desperately in need of sleep because I've been abducted that night before, and huge black bruise here, and very ill all day, and I'm frightened to sleep. But then these flashbacks are coming, more. Oh God! Anyway, I go right back and say I'm seeing myself. But I thought it was a little boy because my mother had a suit made for me because I was a real tomboy, and there I am crawling through the grass, but I've got a little cap on as well, and I'm thinking, what's all this about? And then suddenly the face comes up and oh God, it's me. And then I'm not allowed to see the reptile thing, but all the rest came back at that point, and I thought, going on all that time. I did remember about going missing, but no recall where I went. I wish I knew. Maybe I don't want to know, I don't know. Many people have said, have you been regressed? When I said, no, never. I said, I just don't feel I can cope with it. I can't. It took me long enough to cope with what I learned.
And that is a point, isn't it, Hilary?
Yes.
I know that there are some people I've talked to, because my therapy work can go into regression, and some people have said, gosh, I really couldn't handle any more.
No,
It's
you
enough for, what I've already got. To have any more memories, it would be, kind of blow the fuse.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to know what happened when in the Welsh abduction, but anything here, I don't think I can handle at all.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Okay, so you're 5 years old. You've just had that experience of being dragged along, because you did say when we were speaking off camera that they actually dragged you, this reptilian, very roughly over ground before they took you into this craft. And that's an interesting insight, if that's the right word, to see that they didn't need light at all,
No, they didn't.
unlike ourselves.
Yeah. I would have
To
stumbled
function.
around in the dark and figured I was,
Yeah.
I didn't know where I just knew I was in this thing,
Yeah.
and they were doing these things to me.
Yeah. And you also said that you still maintained a scar from that event,
Yes.
and that was on your leg,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Got the picture.
Yeah.
Leg, yeah. That is quite common actually. I know quite a few abductees that have got a scar there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Whether they know how they got it, or what, that's another story.
So, what was the fallout from that experience immediately in your life? I know you didn't remember it, but did you have any health issues or any behavioural issues as a little one then?
Well, yes, I think I did, because I'd had a paradigm shift before I'd even gone to school, as it were.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at school at all. Not that I couldn't put a finger on it, but I just, I was told I was dyslexic as well, but it was more than that. It was, just coping with life. My brain had been blatted, and to, this business of school was nothing compared, well, at least it felt like that, compared with what I'd been through, and I was unable to tell anybody about it, nobody at all. I mean, wouldn't know how to do it anyway at that age, but
Did you have any?
I never fitted in at all.
So common.
Yeah, just didn't
So
fit in.
common with abductees.
Yeah.
Did you have any pain or physical symptoms, even though you had no memory, that you
I
now
can't
know?
remember very much of the actual.
Sure.
No, what they did. All I know, later times I have, but the scar, I think, my leg was sore, I think, a little bit. And, yeah, there was, I think what happened, my knees were all, scar,
Were they scuffed?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this came back actually only 2 years ago.
Okay.
It came back as suddenly I was back there again, you know, and this is what happens very often. Chung, you know, think, oh, what's this all about? And then what it was, my knees, yeah, they were all, you know,
Grazed
and sore. And my mother put me on the, in the kitchen on the side, you know, on the
yes
draining board.
Yeah.
And she went off into the bathroom to get the first aid kit. And I'm sitting right near the window, like just like this. And I'm looking, and I was just sort of looking at, and I saw the disc. The disc came, there was like a thundercloud over the school, big black cloud, and this disc came, sort of slid out partly, and then it went back, or it was out. I got the curtain and I shut the curtain. I do remember that because I didn't want it to see me. It mustn't see me. It mustn't see me. Anyway, and I got right back like that, and my mother said, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's something funny outside, Mummy. I don't like it. I don't like it." And I must have known then, you see, what it was. And she went to the window and she said, "But there's only a thundercloud, darling." She said, "There's nothing there." I said, "But I saw it. And anyway, she did my knees up and cleaned them and everything.
And were the knees from you being dragged along by this
so.
reptilian?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, it kind of went together with the abduction, you know. Sure. It was coming back, little bits, fragments of it. And this is what they do. Your mind can grasp fragments of all the different things, but you can't put the whole thing together. It's so hard.
So all throughout then, it seems, from what you're saying, and we were chatting about off camera, that it seems you've had from babyhood right through your toddlerhood.
Mm-hmm.
So did it carry on, say, past 5 years old?
Oh yes, into young childhood. I moved over here actually, and I had a friend called Janet, and Janet and I would go out to play when we were, I was about 8 or 9 or so, and the woods are over the back here, and we used to cycle on our little bikes, because in those days it was so much freer, you know, no traffic really.
Yeah.
And it was quite a country place, and so often we were found actually one end of the woods, but we were found the other end. We had no idea how we got there, you know, things like that. It was missing time all the time, things like that. And then one day we were standing at the bottom of the road where we lived, looking back up here over onto Fern Hill, and it was a lovely sunny day, and we were just talking at the end of the road. Sally, I said to Janet, "Oh my God, look at that!" And she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "It's a disc." Excuse me. And I said, "Yeah, but it's like it's got a door on it. There's something dark there, or something in." She said, "Yeah, I can see that." And then suddenly it zoomed all the way down the lane to right next to the what they called the it was a factory. It cleaned out some barrels and things. It was what's it called? With oil and things.
Okay.
In them,
Yeah, I
that
can't
kind of
think
thing.
what you...
Right next to that, and it was hanging there in the sky. The door was open and you could see this figure. He was in white, he was standing there in the doorway, and she looked at me and I looked at her. We're off, you know. We were absolutely, we were so petrified. We don't think we had missing time, but neither of us can remember.
So that was
I still know her today, and she's in Wales. But neither of us, it was summer holidays and we didn't go out again. We were so frightened that we stayed home in our houses. And
was there any kind of communication between yourself and the craft at all, or was the fear getting in the way of that?
I think the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, just petrified. And this big figure, I mean, he was a big sort of man thing, arms, legs, you know, humanoid.
Yes.
Well, we just ran for it.
Yeah.
We weren't going to hang around.
And at this time, you're not able to tell your parents or anybody else. Is that right?
Not really, no. It was difficult because they would laugh at you and say, don't you see? Well, obviously I didn't know about my mother. Maybe, just maybe, she would have listened, knowing what I know now. But I didn't think she would. So I thought, no, there's no point, because they'll say, oh, you're just making it all up and just being a silly kid, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought, no. But then it went into teenage life. And
was there ever a break over the years?
yeah, there were sort of little episodes, maybe a year or two,
Yeah.
something like that. And I got to 16, and it was the time of the Cuban crisis. And we weren't going to wake up in the morning, possibly, because the whole kit and caboodle would have been blown up, you know. And I remember that night laying in bed thinking, well, you know, I was only young, too much to take in, really. And the whole room lit up absolutely brilliantly. And this figure was standing there, and he had his two fingers, and I thought, well, is that Jesus? Or something like that. And no, I'm not 100% sure, but I, you know, knowing about light beings as well, but I didn't notice any holes in his hands or anything. I was trying to see. Anyway, he didn't walk, he just moved, and he talked through, you know, he was communicating without talking, you know.
Telepathically.
What do you call it?
Telepathically?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And he said, I'm with you for all time, and do not worry, nothing's going to happen. And I will never leave you or forsake you. And he took those two fingers and he put them on my forehead here, and it was a cross between an icebox and electric shock kind of feeling. And I carried that with me for a very long time, years, this feeling there. And then it all went dark. Well, he went back, he didn't walk, he just went back to the bottom of the bed, gone. And then I fell asleep, and I was calm and quiet. And of course we got up the next day, and life goes on.
Did anything happen as a result of him touching you there?
Well, I started getting, I mean, I've always been a repeater witness of UFOs as well. And I was getting a lot of sightings, a great deal. In fact, my parents saw them one night. We were coming back, my boyfriend, well, who ended up with my husband for a few years. We were walking down from the Farnborough Main Road from Hampshire to the pictures for the evening, and we saw three of these strange craft all in one night. In fact, he worked for the RAE at the time.
Oh, what sort of shape were they in?
They were bullet sort of shapes, or cigar-y type shape, with smoke coming out the back of them. And first one, we were talking, and he said, shh, and held my arm like that. And I looked and I watched it go over and onto the estate over the way there towards Frimley. And he said, wow. And the thing stopped over on the estate, and it turned round. And then it carried on towards Frimley. Then as we walked down the lane, we said, should we take Heidi for a walk, you know, take the dog for a walk? Yeah, let's do that. So I said, Mum, can we take the dog for a walk? Yes, yes. So when we opened the door, another one went across, so my mum and my dad saw it, and we saw it, and the dog wasn't particularly rushing to go out. Then when it had gone, of course, he rushed out, and we went down the road. Then as we got to the bottom, near where we saw the craft, my friend and I, we were down that part of the road, and another one came down the lane, and the dog was going crazy. We didn't even see it at that point, and it was going under the hedge, and it was going. You know,
and did the craft make a sound at all?
The dog was.
The dog was making a sound, but did the craft?
Yes, it hit it. Well, he could hear it. They could,
yeah.
Dogs can pick it up quicker than we can. So it picked up the noise, and then then we saw it, and it went down, and but then it veered off towards Frimley. So all three of these objects went over into the.
And they're all the same, all the cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was our very first date. So, you know, flipping it. And then in adulthood, I lost a baby. Well, I didn't lose it. I think it was taken when I was 5 months pregnant.
Okay. Do you have any memory of any process going on that would have, where, you know, genetic material was being
Oh, very much so.
Right,
Oh, yes,
okay.
yes, there's a whole string of it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you say, some abductions, they will not give you any memory of what they've done and how long you've been gone or come back or what's happening. But this pregnancy was not right somehow. And
was it not right from the very beginning?
well, it started fine and was quite normal, and then I went to about 12 weeks or so, had a little bleed, and then it seemed to settle down, but I was told by the doctor to stay at home and to rest and everything. She was a bit concerned maybe the placenta was not what it should be. So just in case. Anyway, I lost it at 20 weeks. The thing was, that night, it was Christmas Eve, and the night before, I mean it was early morning Christmas Eve, it was mother-in-law's birthday, so they'd all been out having a few of those and one thing and another. Robert came in, my ex, and I said, I'm in pain, you know, I think you'll have to get the doctor. So he did, and he went out to wait for them, and I don't remember very much after that, but I did know that I needed to keep the contents, if you know what I mean, because of what might be in the future. So I did everything that I was supposed to do. The baby moved the whole time. It did not stop moving. And I feel that between that and they took it. I felt sure that they came and they took this baby. And I went to the doctors, and this was the crux of it all really, a few weeks later, and I said, could you tell me please, I didn't have my normal doctor at that time because of Christmas, you know, I had a locum, but all doctors are supposed to tie up together, aren't they,
Yeah.
with these things. So she said to me, I'll go through your notes, you know. She said, she went through them about 3 times, and she said, I'm afraid I've got no recall of the baby. I've got no recall what it was or anything, because I said it would be very helpful to me to know if it was a boy or a girl. I said, I've got no idea how many people from the start are asking, did you have a boy, did you have a girl, and this and that and the other. But I said, apart from that, it would help my grieving process because I'm still in a lot of grief. No, she said, I can't, I've got nothing whatsoever, and I thought that was highly suspicious. Then I had Sally, she was born 11 weeks early. Then I had to go to hospital because they gave me an episiotomy and they did it wrong, couldn't even get that right.
So can I just interrupt there a moment? Can I just ask, so Sally is your, is she
Yes,
your
she's
only child?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
And she's my well, we now know she's severely autistic, handicapped little girlie. But
when was Sally born? Can I ask?
1972.
72.
February, 3 months early, nearly 11 weeks actually. She's £2.11. So I had to go into hospital just before Christmas, about 2 weeks before, and in 72, and I had a reaction to the anaesthetic. Instead of being a very simple, straightforward procedure, I was out for 17 hours. And when I came round, it was about 4 in the morning. No nurse, nobody around, and I wanted to go to the bathroom, so I toddled off to the bathroom. Well, there, which was always closed, was a big cupboard in the bathroom, and it was open. Now this is where the shock was, and I suppose I had to go through this in order to know that. There were jars with fetuses in, but they weren't normal fetuses. They were from about 13 weeks to 24 nearly, quite big ones, and they had big black eyes and hardly any features, very, very emaciated. I mean, they're not big when they've got little fetuses in, but and then funny little hands sort of in there, big red mark here and their little legs, and they're all just sort of in these jars.
How many were there?
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't expect you to remember them to a number.
Well, we're talking about something like 5 rows or more of these jars, you know, and probably 8 or so to a line, you know, sort of quite a few in each line.
So about 40 odd or
yeah, getting
something?
on that way. I mean, this was quite a sizable cupboard, and I thought, oh my God, you know. And I looked down and looked at the bigger ones. There were no eyelashes, you see, no eyelids. The eyes were growing bigger and forming. And
Did you recognise any of them?
well, no, I didn't. But I knew that this was not normal, and I knew that you know, something was very, very wrong. Well, it all came together, of course, when I started being abducted by the Greys, and then that began to, because I had to keep this to myself, I felt, and then I got this feeling, oh God, I shouldn't be here. So.
And just remind me of the hospital we're at.
We're at Farnham.
Farnham Hospital.
Yes.
Where these jars of different
in the special ward, you know, ladies' ward.
fetuses were.
And then I got back into bed. I thought, you know, I could be in danger.
What a shock!
And a shock. So I put the covers over me and pretended, you know, that I hadn't even got out of bed. Bang went the door though. So I settled down. A nurse came in, and she had a tray, and she had covered with a white cloth another thing, something had happened, and I heard her go into, and she went into that toilet, and she, you heard chink, another one added, and then you heard her go bang with the door, and lock the door.
So that was an opportune moment for you to see
very,
something that our hospitals are clearly have
Yes.
knowledge of.
Yeah, I know they are. I'm absolutely sure of it, and have been for a long time. They've been interacting with us for a long time, and trying to get women to carry alien babies and things, and some will abort. And I think, you know, maybe with mine, it just had to go. It wasn't fully human, you know.
Do you have any memory of having ever met? I know we're talking about in the future now, but met any of your any hybrid children?
Yes, I have actually.
Okay.
Ken always says to me about you know, that's well, he was here, so he will verify everything, and he was as taken back as I was. It didn't hit straight away, but as we had a phone way back in '03 in a really hot July, when it was nearly 100 degrees, and the phone was literally, we've always had a bad phone, we've always had it tapped and everything, ever since '76 when I moved here, and it was literally dying. So this is my lifeline for Sally and everything else. I need to have the phone. And anyway, it died, and I got the engineer out, and they said, well, it was your phone, you know, the usual thing, well, you have to pay for it. I said, just get here please and put it right. They realised it wasn't. They messed around, one of them, first engineer, up and down the pole, and he said, well, you should be all right now, he said, so I'll be off, bye. And then, no, it was dead. So I had to go across to my neighbour again and say, when she lived there, can I borrow the phone again? You know, it's dead as nails. Yes, she said, of course he'll. So I went and did that. I wasn't even back. I counted about 20 steps from her door across to mine, and the chap turned up. Suddenly appeared, and he had this like a blue T-shirt, I think, or something like that. Very, very hot. I can't remember his BT things, but anyway, I thought, my God, that I've heard of fast, but this is ridiculous. Anyway, he came in, and the strange thing was, I had a painting. We had a piano behind where the TV is now, and I'd done a picture of Glastonbury, and I had a plasma craft with a beam of light hitting on the top of the church
As a drawing?
Yeah,
Yeah, your
painting,
drawing,
yeah.
painting.
He walked in. He didn't go to the phone, which was over there. Well, you know, like it is downstairs. No, he turned all the way around and he said, UFOs, he said, fabulous. He said, they're so interesting. And I said, they are, aren't they? And Ken said, yeah, we are very interested, you know. And he was on about that. Then he said, I'll soon fix this. And he did something to the phone and went outside, and I don't remember what the heck he did. And I don't remember his van, I don't remember any of those things. Then he came in and Ken said, would you like to stay for lunch? Oh, I would, he said, that'd be lovely. He said, we are BEAMS, British Earth and Aerial Mystery Society, so we can show you lots of things. Oh, yes, please, he said. And he sat down, well, we had a 70s chair, you know, that swivels round. And as he sat there, he was sitting in the centre of the room. The settee was another settee where it is now, but the TV was over in that corner. And I remember sort of looking at him and taking him in, and I'm thinking, there's something about you. There is something. He had curlyish hair, dark brown eyes. His cranium was bigger than normal. I noticed that, and I thought, Then I noticed his feet splayed almost round the other way. And I thought, how the heck does he do that? Yeah. And they were talking, these two men. He knew everything about everything. There's nothing. I mean, Ken's pretty knowledgeable about every aspect of things. There was nothing he did. They were having a fabulous time. Then he turned the chair around to look at me, see, and I just smiled. And then he said, would you like to see a picture of my wife and my children's, or my child? He said, the first one isn't mine. I said, well, that'd be lovely. So he got his wallet out, showed me this picture, and he said, the little one's mine. I said, oh, that's lovely. Lovely children, lovely wife. The whole time he was there, he didn't want to drink in that terrific heat. He didn't want to eat, but he took a bag from something he was carrying, and he put his hand into this bag the whole time he was there. I was wondering if he was absorbing through his skin, you know.
Yes, it sounds like it's something like that, isn't it?
And then,
where was the bag on him? Was he carrying it like a work bag?
Yeah, like a little work bag thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, you see, while all this was going on, he wanted to seem normal, you know. And he said, oh, by the way, he said, we only live in Fleet. Yeah, I said, oh yeah. He said, yeah, we live in Valmead Road. So I thought, right. So when he turned back, I wrote all that down quickly on the telephone pad, you know. So I want to go into this a bit more. As I looked at him, I thought, you are the spitting image of your father when he was that age. Exactly, and very similar build, except you're not quite as tall, but very, very similar. And I thought, my goodness, you know. And I started to, like a penny dropping, you know, and I thought...
So who was this guy then? You knew the father of this chap who was there?
Well, he was my husband, who the baby... You know, because I wasn't just pregnant, you know, I had a husband, I was married, but the interaction of the aliens, you see, in between all this as well, changes everything so much, doesn't it?
Sure.
So, I could see, you know, this guy was, I worked it out in the years, and he looked about 34. And I worked out, I thought, my God, yeah, because he would be. That's exactly the age he would be. Exactly. And yeah, I think he gave me a
So he could
smile.
be your son?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, penny drop for me now too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought, oh boy. And then he said, right, well, he said, I must go now. He'd spent an hour and a half or more. Oh, have you known a BT man spend an hour and a half watching videos, talking, you know, and doesn't want to drink, and it's boiling hot. They've got their their own metabolism, I suppose, and everything. And then he was just gone. He went to the door, and we just sort of said, well, thanks for putting the phone right and everything, and thank you, smile, as if to say, well, thank you, son, for coming. And he was gone. He just got to the bottom of the hill. I mean, we can see up and down the road. It was weird, really, and yet neither of us.
Disappeared.
And then even Ken said, I know that face. He said, I don't know where I've seen it, but I know that face. He said, I swear I've seen it before. So I said, wow. But I haven't told anybody about that because he seems to think I shouldn't. But yeah, that was I think so. I think absolutely. He was, because it was right from the word go, it reminded me, of him,
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? A nothing for no reason.
No,
So-
exactly. So they had got him, they were showing me, and I've been taken, so much that this was the product at the end, this hybrid son.
Yeah.
So that little kiddie in the photo is my hybrid grandson. And I thought, that was mind blowing, to say the least.
We'll have a little break.
Yeah, put on for it.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Ammach interview with Hilary Porter, here in Farnborough. Now, I want to mention the health issue. This is a really important factor that keeps on keeping on with abductees. Now, not only has Hilary had some issues which she'll tell you about herself in a moment, but also with the hybrid child and the ovary and the egg business with the ladies, she was also lactating for years, even decades. And this is just absolutely incredible. And for everybody else who's never had that experience, myself included, I do know that it can be really, really exhausting and tiring and really inconvenient, and that's the least of it. So the body is being made and forced into actions and activity that is not normal, and certainly it's not normal to be lactating for tens of years. So I'm going to hand you over to Hilary, and we're going to hear a little bit more detail about that before we go on to her absolutely fascinating work life as an electronic engineer drafts person. Okay, thanks.
Three, two, one. So Hilary, I just mentioned about health and health issues,
Yes.
and I know that we were talking about being taken interdimensionally. It changed the molecular structure.
Yes.
Tell us something about your own experience of issues
Yeah. So
to do with your health.
the fact that you're very, very dizzy when you come back, and you feel extremely ill. Sometimes, well, quite nearly all the time. Dreadful, dreadful heads, awful migraine. You feel absolutely out of sorts, and quite often for days, absolutely days. And you've got to try and make life, live, get on with things, bringing up the children or whatever. It's a woman, it's terrible. And then you're getting flashbacks of, like I was as well, of being put on a circular table when you're up on the craft, and I'm absolutely splayed out. I've got no clothes on. I'm manacled here, and on my feet, and they spin this thing round and they watch how you cope with this as well, and all this kind of what they're doing to, and then they'll put you on something similar again, and it's got lines like you see electronic lit lines going down.
Like LEDs or
Yeah,
something.
going along and across you. It's like they're measuring you or whatever they're doing, and you're stuck with this, and and they don't care whether your neck is creaked right back or any of this sort of thing. So you come back absolutely sore from head to foot, ache and bruising and scars, and it just goes on and on and on.
Have you ever seen anyone else whilst you've been taken at the same time that you're having examinations or whatever they are doing to you?
Yes, I have. I saw somebody in a kind of tank thing. I mean, it seemed to be, in fact I found myself in it as well a little bit later. Excuse my heart pounding a little bit.
Are you feeling
Anyway,
all right?
yeah, I'm fine because I take all my tablets and I'm keep pretty fit.
If we need to take a break, just say.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. No, in this tank, they leave you suspended in this kind of gooey stuff.
Oh, are we talking vertical or horizontal tank? Are you lying
s-
in it or?
Yes, you're sort of lying in this stuff, and it's like as though they're teaching you to breathe underwater, or something like that, or in this
I've
stuff.
heard something about this before.
And you honestly don't think you're going to do this, and you really are frightened, you know. But you do. You sink into it, and you continue to breathe, and things like that. And I've got flashbacks of being coming in from space on a craft and going right through down into the sea, and actually going through the sea. It's sort of a, I don't know whether it's some kind of it's not glass tunnel, but some kind of thing, and you're actually able to go through this to another base or something like that from the craft.
An undersea base. It could have been crystalline maybe. Even.
Yeah, it was dead weird. You know, you think, well, you know, I'm doing it. How? You know, but it all has an effect on your person, how you are, everything. It's awful because I don't know what they want of you. I just don't know how much more humans could give them.
And can you say what these beings were like? You know, at these times when you're on this circular table being swiveled around.
They were basically the greys. They're the ones that came. This is a scenario. I'm laying in the bed. I'm right here, on not this particular bed, but the one before, and portal suddenly comes in the wall, and this figure there comes and stands over.
That's the cowled figure there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, can't ever see its face ever.
Mm.
And then that ushers in the greys, and they're like little children, and they. You all right with that?
Yes, fine.
And their heads, because of their little necks, oh, makes my head wobble. They wobble, and their arms are extra long, and they're sort of like that, and they move very rapidly round the bed. They came round to Sally's side because we shared a bed together when I had the divorce, and we were together. And it was with, well, no, it wasn't. It was just coming into spring, summer. Then then there was the mind scan, and this. The next part.
So how did that work?
Is that okay with that, Shine?
Yes. So whilst
Well, you get one that sort of separates itself out from the others, and he's prodding you from inside the bed, and you come all the way up, and then he comes in closer and closer and closer and to begin with, you think to yourself, you know, what the hell's going on? And then suddenly, because it happens so quickly, you are already in an altered state, and you're that's it, you're gone. They take you and your molecular structure, or whatever, you are gone, and then they bring you back. And they did it with Sally, and I could not move. I went through what my mother went through at that time, desperately trying to move, and I can't do a thing. And they put me out completely, and I know she was gone, and that's it. But these eyes look right into you, like this, right into your face, and after a while you begin to think, right, you critter, you know, you come up to me, I'm not going to open my eyes. I'm going to flipping close them, and I'm going to keep them flipping closed, and there's no way you're going to take me, because it's only when that makes that contact that you're gone. And I'm going to make it hard for you, and I'm laying there with my eyes closed and so on, but somehow, kind of manipulation, whatever it is, the eyes come open, that's it, you're gone. And this is what happened time and time and time and time again. It was awful.
Did you notice any change in Sally after she'd been taken?
Very quiet, very quiet. She is autistic, but we didn't know then at the time. She wasn't diagnosed, but she was severely handicapped. But she was very, very quiet, and you know, for a little child, I mean, no matter what they are, they're usually bubbly and what have you, but she wasn't, you know, there's nothing I could do.
Did you see any marks or bruising or anything
Not
on
at
her
that
body?
particular time, but she has now.
Is she still taken?
Yes. Yes, she's still taken. She was taken just a few years ago, not long. Probably still is, but I cannot be sure, you know.
Right.
She does come back rather strange, you know, things. But on one occasion she came back with a raised bump, red raised bump on her leg, and I was quite worried. I thought, what on earth's that? I mean, it just came overnight, so I took her to the doctor. Oh, he said, that's nothing to worry about. He said, it's just skin, that's okay. And I thought, yeah, same old story. And then another occasion, she had this beautiful silver necklace with a star in the centre of it. And they put it on her at Christmas time. Well, I put it on at Christmas, thank them for it, from her place where she goes to the day centre. And they said she's our little star. And the clasp is so tiny, and I can't, even with glasses on, I can't see to do it. So I left it on. I thought, what harm's it doing? And it's just round her neck. And then about Easter, I came in a good 4 months later, and it was here on the bed, and it was in a complete spiral, absolute perfect spiral with the star in the centre. That was telling me, yeah, we're still here, and we're still doing it. And there's because Sally couldn't do that in a million years, you know. So I thought, oh, made me quite a cold. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about you were mentioning your crisis abduction.
Yes.
Would that be a good point to
Yes,
talk
that could
about
be
that?
quite good. Yeah.
Why do you call it that?
Well, can I just say, do you want the black figure, or you're not too worried?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's have a
So
look.
Hilary, you're going to tell us about a being that you saw now around your own property.
Yes. Yeah, bearing in mind that Sally and I are living on our own, and that everything is shored up as well around our garden. We can't get anyone, we shouldn't have anybody coming in or out, because we've got fencing and high walls and various things. So, you're all right with that? Yeah. So I come rushing down after putting Sally to bed. It's the hour's just changed, we're now into early April. Nice evening. I rushed into the lounge. I was going to put the TV on, and I stopped dead, because he is standing, this thing is standing.
Oh right,
in
so
window.
the black figure, as we're looking at it now, for the drawing that you've done,
Yeah.
that's what you saw.
Right up against the window.
Looks like, has he got his, that's frontwards, okay, so
Yeah,
there's like
it's-
a mask thing.
Oh, he's got a helmet with a visor in it.
Right,
And this is daylight, the nurses saw theirs in the dark.
right.
Well, the sunlight's over this way, and the coming through the trees, and I can see the sunlight playing on his suit. Everything was of a matte thing. I could not see through the visor at all, even in the daylight. And I thought, don't blow this, kid, don't blow it, because this is really important. This may never ever happen again. You know, you're a researcher, take it and try and understand everything that's going on, take every bit and then draw it.
Was there any communication?
Yes, he put this hand up, like, you know, sort of just like that. And I did the same. I found, even though I couldn't move, I went like that, see. And then I thought, well, think of all the times when, like the Americans that have shot these, you know, they'd rather shoot aliens with a gun or, you know, whatever. How do we ever learn anything? And I thought, no, we will never learn if we don't at least, you know, hold on in there for a bit, you know. Anyway, he stood there for a little while. Then he didn't walk, he just slid to the wall at the back, which is about 5 feet away.
Like a glide?
Just
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
within a
fast.
very fast.
Yeah.
He was standing there, and I thought, wow, you know, and I could see he was 7 foot, 6, 7 foot, really very tall. And then he shot onto the steps of the garden, going up to the garden, because we live in the highest house here in Farnborough, and I knew you know, we have to go up the steps to go into our garden. And when he was on there, he was like 8 foot, or, you know, he was really massive and big with it, which is what the nurses said as well, you know. So then, as he stood there, he vanished, gone. My first reaction was to rush to the window, close the curtains.
Yeah.
I thought, oh. Then I started to really, I was in shock, but I thought, no, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to draw this. So I grabbed my paper and things, you know.
And was there any other communication apart from the hand showing?
No, I don't remember anything
No.
at all.
Okey-doke.
No. And then we lead on to the nurses. Well, 1980, I had a phone call from nurses from High Herlands Hospital. I had a hotline, UFO hotline, and it was a Sunday night and it was late and it was dark. And I was just about to go to bed when the phone rang, and I spoke to them. Well, it was 2 female voices, and they were in such just gibberish, absolute. And I said, don't worry, I'm here for as long as it takes. Whatever's happened, we will talk it through and deal with it. Okay, you know, so gradually, after a few minutes, they said, well, we're nurses from High Herlands Hospital.
Which is where?
Liphook,
in Hampshire.
which is Hampshire, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, right. They said, we have been buzzed by UFO, multicoloured lights, and it comes from the Guildford direction and goes off in the Portsmouth direction, but it hangs above our hospital or the grounds. It's always coming in, you know, quite regularly, she said.
Oh, so not just a one-off event?
No, it's been going on for months. I said, oh dear. So she said, but it's worse than that now. So I said, oh dear. I said, what's happened? It's landed. She said, it's landed down just beyond the apple orchard, down where the nursing staff are, you know, and they can't come on or off duty. We can't come off on, you know, duty. It's getting late and everything. And we don't know what to do. You know, dogs going balmy because there's been children. It's a handicapped children's hospital. And well, those days, you know, you were sort of more or less put into something like that back in those days. Anyway, the dog's going balmy, the cats won't go outside, their fur comes up and they will not go out. She said the nurses not long phoned us and said that a huge black figure, because they watched it come down to about 30 feet and then it turned its lights off, but they said they reckoned it had come down not far from where they've billeted, you know, sort of thing. And they'd seen this big figure going past their windows really rapidly, and they said, well, we don't know what on earth this is, you know. So
did they give you an indication of size? I mean, height, I know they said it was large, but are we talking sort of 6 foot or 10 foot or?
Well, yeah, so can we cut a minute? Where it takes the nurses nearly a quarter of an hour to go from their nursing home up to the hospital, it took him 2 minutes. And you've got
so you think that the guy you saw at your window is exactly the same person?
Yes, I do afterwards, but at the time I hadn't clicked.
No, that's interesting.
I was really, really shocked for them, and I wanted to help them any way I could.
And we're just about to hear about what happened to the nurses now.
Yes, well, they said, can you come over? And I said, I'm afraid I can't. I've got a little 7-year-old daughter in her bed, and there's no way I can, but I know someone who can. So do not worry, they'll be over, I should think, within the hour. So best, I'm going to phone them straight away. His name is Omar Fowler. And I rang him up. I thought, yeah, his wife's probably going to give him a lot of... Anyway, he said, I'll go down. He said, I'll go right away. I said, well, they really are in a crisis. You know, you really did need to, you know.
So were police called or anything?
Yes, they did. They called the police and everything. They didn't know. They had to be sure it wasn't a prowler, you know,
sure.
or any of those things. But
what did the police make of it?
Police didn't want to take them seriously, and they couldn't find the craft or anything. And the nurses said, well, and when we went there too, there's another field, there's another sort of exit point. I'll take a drink.
So we're starting, just having a look at some pictures that Hilary's done, and this one is actually of her.
This is 1982.
Daughter in the living room and a friend, I believe.
Yes, she came. She was diabetic and epileptic, but she was not, you know, brain damaged as such. She did have her problems, but she came to have her evening meal with us, Bevy, we used to call her, and she was putting records on the radiogram. Sally was quite happy watching TV. I was in the kitchen cooking the evening meal, when suddenly Bev comes flying in, flings her arms around me, nearly choking me to death, and white as a sheet. And I said, "Oh, darling, what's the matter?" She said, "I said, you look like you've seen a ghost." She said, "I think I probably have." So I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, I was putting on record," she said, "and you know your curtain is slightly closed there, you're right with that." She said, "You didn't see me," and he was looking at Sally, so, and he went thud, thud, thud on the window.
Right.
So I stepped back, and there he was, right up against the window, and so surprised to see me. And and it was raining. It really, really was raining very heavily. He zoomed again backwards, and she said then he was gone. So I said, "Oh my God."
So it's exactly the same kind of person by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what's the time frame between those three events? So
Well, we've got two in the 1980s, two 80, two in 1980, which was April and July. I believe there was something about, some notes Omar made about something about maybe October, or they saw the craft again in October. But for us, it was 82, end of November, raining like mad, only about 4:30 in the afternoon, and Sally was completely unfazed by it all. She was just watching TV. I wondered sometimes how many more times perhaps he was trying to get her attention, that maybe he'd come before, and I was somewhere else in the house and not aware of it, you know, really. But that's the last time, to my knowledge, that he came. So I had to have my ex come and stay a couple of days. Beverly insisted on it, and the police. And the police said they would keep an eye on the house and everything, and ensure we were safe and everything. So, it was quite a case. But there was a lot of,
were there any abductions around that era, that time as well?
Oh yes, it was exactly the time when the Greys were still coming through the wall and things. Yeah.
So a lot of things. So different beings, by the sound of it, too. Different types.
Oh yes. I've seen quite a few different sort of alien things, but they all run into things, probably come out in the future. But
okay. Well, we'll talk about perhaps the different types a bit later on. But
yeah,
I'm quite interested in hearing about your work life now.
yeah.
So perhaps you can give us a snapshot of what you ended up doing. I did mention it at the beginning.
Yes.
But just so people have an idea, and also the company you worked for is not without its its mysteries in some way.
Yes.
So
Yes, it was. I worked for Marconi for 1968 to 1974. I did have a little break when I had Sally, but nevertheless I was an electronic engineer draftsman, and I could sort of more or less go all around the company, totally. Well, nobody's going to take any notice, you know.
And what was the sort of work that you were tasked with doing?
I'm not allowed to say. It was space and defence.
Okay.
So
That gives us a very good idea of the kind of things.
well, yes. Yeah, just use one's imagination.
Okay.
Ting, 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 ting. So, and then, do you want the beauty thing?
Yes, I think you tell us, because there was some very peculiar things.
1973, about July, something like that. These ICs, as we call them, internal communications, came round to every lady, or at least the ladies they chose, to enter this beauty contest. Well, in the time between 72 and 73, Marconi actually took over. They bought the company.
Which was the company?
It was Elliott Automation
Okay.
at the time. So, and it was a really happy place to work. Now we were doing everything in duplicate and everything. Those days you just signed in and got on with your job. Now you had to clock in. Everyone had to. So, and then this thing came round. And a lot of the women just said, well, you know, I don't want to do it, you know, and this, that, and the other.
And what was it exactly?
It was a beauty contest,
Mm-hmm.
and it was going to be held in September of that year. And they wanted everybody to, or at least what they chose, to go into it, you see. And I said, but yeah, but you know, yeah, but no. But
And what
yeah,
was
but
the purpose of it?
that's what we all thought. We thought, well, this has come out of the blue, you know, what are they playing at? This is flipping weird, you know, but oh no, we were told it was going to be a bit of fun, you know, be light-hearted, enjoy it,
That you had to
dress
do it.
up. Yes, and this was it, you know, and I kept saying, well, no, you know, I've got a daughter, look, baby, doesn't matter, you know, you're good looking, you get in it, we want you to go, you know, and I said, oh. So anyway, in the end, we all, I don't know, quite a few of us, all went and did what we were told. We ran this contest thing, and
I mean, what did you have to do for the contest?
well, not a lot really. We just you
Appear
know.
dressed up.
Yeah, we weren't in bathing costumes or any of that, like Miss World or any of that. Thank God, you know, we were in nice dresses and just your hair all nice and makeup and you know nice shoes, nice everything. Just look feminine, look the best you can.
And who was the contest attended by? Who was in the audience?
Well, yes. People, quite a few people, the heads of our company and their wives, some of them, and how can I put it? Others that I think were contacts that belong to certain oh God, how do you put it? Clubs, certain things that businessmen belong to, and this kind of thing. Anyway, we had to strut our stuff, you know, do what we had to do, and we had a little interview and things like that, and everyone clapped like mad, and off we went. Some of our parents could be there, or anyone of my parents came, and that was the evening, you know. Then they went through all the process like they do, you know, and they, you know, came. The young girl, one of the young girls, she was only 17. She came in first, and then they announced I was second. So I was really gobsmacked, you know. I thought, whoa, you know, anyway, it was the weirdest thing out, wasn't it? Then we go even weirder, because we go into 74. And the night before, I lived near the motorway, upstairs at a flat, and I could see out over, and I saw two orbs, white orbs, flying way above the M3, shooting in from the west. They went straight down. I thought, whoa, what's that? And then one suddenly veered off, going into Farnborough. The other one went straight off into Frimley. Couldn't see any more from where I was about at that time. The next day, because you can go by bus or anyway, so I came in on the works bus. You could feel the atmosphere, you could literally cut it with a knife. It was that. There were no security guards in their normal place. In fact, there weren't any security guards we could see. There were two big black MOD cars already in the personnel section over the way, and I thought, flipping heck, you know, what's going on here? And then...
Had you ever seen anything like that before?
Pardon me. No, nothing like that, no. No, this was really strange. And things were really, really you know, nothing was normal, nothing felt normal, everything seemed weird somehow. Anyway, we all got off the bus and walked out. I worked upstairs. I had to go upstairs through, well that's the way I did it, to my drawing office. I went through what they called the old Victorian house, and there was a lovely, beautiful staircase there that took you up, but there, right across, was a chain with a note on it saying, well, you know, a big plastic thing saying, strictly no admittance beyond this point. I thought, oh, that wasn't there last night. What's going on? So, and then as I came to go down into my drawing office, we had about 5 or 6 of the bosses in the different sections and so on, all in the office together, all talk. You know, and I thought, oh, what's going on? Anyway, I had a drawing coming in at 9 o'clock, so it was about 8:30 then. And I thought, right, I said to one of the draftsmen next to me, what the heck's going on? He said, how should I know? He said, we all want to know what's going on. I said, yeah, it's a bit flipping weird, isn't it? So I thought, right, okay. So what I did, I decided to, when the phone went, I was going to go back the way I came, then I'll try another way back and see what I might see or might not see. So I went across the car park. Now there was some more MOD cars parked there, you know, I mean these are top notch, you know, really important stuff. The door was ajar, well a bit more than ajar, of the policeman, you know, the
Security guard.
security, yeah, and smoke like you've never seen in your life, all bellowing out, you know, they were all, they're obviously, you know, in a bit of a state, and you could hear their voices as I approached, you know, a bit closer. If you think I'm doing overtime, you've got another thing coming. Well, no one can pay me enough to do that. He said, well, whatever happened to Charlie, or whatever they called him, you know. Oh, why? He said, dog or no bleeding dog. He said, oh, and the other one said, no, and they were going on. I thought, oh, what the hell's happened? Something's happened. Anyway, I tiptoed upstairs, tapped on the door. I said, it's only me, Hilary. I've just come for my drawing, you know. He was, oh, yes, love, I said, and gave me this big drawing shoot, and left it at that, you know. So I didn't dare say anything, so no, they wouldn't tell me anyway. So I thought, right, so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go into the other section in the front, up in the main entrance, and then go up into the top engineering section and go through that way and see. Because, you know, my mind's telling me, you know, it's got to be a, you know, if you see something, you can gradually decipher what's going on, you know, or get a good idea where it went. So I went through, and no one takes any notice because you're walking with a drawing, you're an engineer. No, but you know, you're just doing your job. But I went through the double doors into the, what we call the prototype section, and there wasn't anybody there. Nobody
Was that
there.
unusual?
Yeah, very. There's a whole section of people not there. I thought, whoa. I sort of looked round me, nobody was taking any notice, so I quickly down and round, it went round right hand and then along, because, and there, right across, again, was a chain with strictly no admittance beyond this point. So I thought, well, we're narrowing it down already, you know, it's in the top secret area. That's what's going on, you know, something there. Anyway, there was a load of disinformation over a matter of weeks and months and stuff. Well, a couple, not quite 2 months, because it started to come out that, and they couldn't bury it, people wouldn't allow it, that the security guard was doing his normal rounds and he saw this blue light, because the offices were glass, you know, frosted glass type offices, and he could see this blue light moving about, and of course being the top secret part, he had his dog with him and everything, So he thought, right, you know, wherever you are, you know, I'm going to sort this out. Well, he had the shock of his life because he opened the door and there was a grey with a band with a blue light on the front, and he was rifling through all the top secret stuff, you know, going through everything. And of course, whatever the grey did, which I don't know, nobody does, he went completely off his trolley.
Did he?
They had to take him away to a special hospital, and
The security guard.
yeah, never saw him again. And the dog, well, I suppose the dog got over it because being a dog, you know, wouldn't understand. I don't know, but you know, that sort of, I thought, oh my God. And then one day, because I was going to leave in the June, late May, early June, I was sitting on a bench. It was a lovely, hot, sunny, late May day, and I was reading a book, probably a UFO one. And even though I kept that quiet as much as I could because I was told to, you know, don't let that interest, you know, could get a bit tricky. So, but I was sitting there reading and having my lunch when suddenly the managing director's office is up there in the old house, and the phone goes ring ring, you know, and I thought, oh, it took my mind off my reading, you know, and I heard him say, yes mate, yeah, I know, yes. He said, well look at it this way, he said, if they can get in here, he said, they can get in anywhere, can't they? Just think about it. Doesn't matter what security we've got, it makes no difference. And he said, whatever said, you know, and I thought, oh God, I don't think I should be sitting here. Perhaps I should, like you said, you know, I should have heard it. But I took myself away over into the grounds at the side. It was a playing field, and I took myself in there and sat down and read my book and finished, and they went back to work. But I thought, that's it, you know, they got in, and someone did say, another researcher, and he comes from Scotland of all places, that we probably had a grey that was actually working on premises, that was we knew him as somebody else, you know, something like that, but he was really a grey. So, you know, it gets weirder and weirder. But.
So what did anything change around the Marconi workplace after that?
Well,
I know you weren't there for that long,
no,
much longer. But
well, I don't know what they could do, you see, this was the worry.
did you know what documents or anything, or if anything went missing?
Well, it would be all the, no, nobody was allowed to know that. That too was something, but the fact that they knew exactly where it was, knew exactly how to home in and do a job.
And was it, yeah, I was just going to say, would you know if it was a current project, a live project at the time?
Well, very likely,
Yeah.
very likely. Yes, it would be all things that we were working on, the documentation and everything, very, very likely. So, yeah, ooh, I thought, my God, you know. And I thought I kept it to myself for 20, 30 years, you know, for a long, long time. And then I thought, no, this needs writing about, because I want to know, really, indirectly, is there anyone else out there? You know, because there's got to be,
Yes.
you know, that were working there at the time that knows this story, knows what happened.
Were you required to sign the Official Secrets Act?
Yes, I was. I had to stay on that side of the fence. As far, well, I don't know anymore anyway, to be honest truth. I just know what I saw. And what I saw was not normal.
Yes.
You know, and all these big cars there and everything. We only, you know, they were coming, you know, I mean, the place even got a lick of paint, you know. Everything was pristine, and that sort of rank of person was coming, so...
What was, you mentioned some smoke earlier on that was seen. What was that from?
They were their cigarettes, I think.
Oh, I see. Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you didn't know
No,
it
they were
meant a
worried.
fire or something.
No,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
they were really worried.
Okay.
They were in a state, you know, they don't know how they were going to cope anymore with what they're doing, because they were scared stiff, weren't they?
It'd be interesting to find out if the security man is still alive.
Yes, it would. Yes, because one can imagine, you know, this special hospital, MOD kind of thing, which...
Do you know where it was?
No, nobody ever learned anything about that. say, had stupid tales went round which were laughable. I can't remember them all now, but I knew I was homing in and I knew what I knew.
So when you also mentioned that the being was there, the grey,
Yeah.
do we know how it
Well, I imagine it just
went?
dematerialised. It materialised in there and dematerialised. I'm absolutely sure of that. We had what we call a hexagonal craft. It's a craft that used to come in. I was abducted by that actually as well. Not to put too many things in the pot, but this thing, I used to call it the bat. And the bat would come in and I could look out her. And when it came in, it was about 60 foot length. It had loads of red lights on it. It would never ever show you all the lights. It would only do a bit here, a bit there to make you think you were seeing something else.
Right.
But what it did do, it had two main lights on the front of it, and it would literally, as a bat, as that's why I call it, go down like that and pour beams of light down on top of sensitive places, shall we say. And this is what I saw many times. In fact, Omar Fowler was called out about those as well. He knew about those.
So do you think that you have ever been abducted by any human military,
There's
say
a
human
possibility.
military colluding with the ETs or the EDs, extra dimensionals?
There is a possibility, yes, there is. And the phone being like silent phone calls and all sorts of that kind. May have been giving me direction, something, you know.
Can I just ask, because just to at a sideways glance, you asked me initially about mentioned your ear, your right
Yes.
ear, and the fact that you have an implant, and indeed I've actually felt that
Yeah.
in the ear, and it feels
Yes,
like a
long
piece
wall
of
there.
wire
Yeah,
sticking.
it is. Yeah.
Did you has there been anything about that has led you to be doing or having a life differently than you might have wanted it? Do you see what I mean? Whether it's might have been part of directing you.
I think there's a possibility that we're moving on. I could not see in any way, shape or form how we could move on, and yet somehow things are beginning, even after all these years, to click together slightly, and maybe that's part of it.
And in what respect click together?
Well, being a counsellor, certain things that I didn't have to work at, as it were, in the sense that these people, we all knew each other,
Okay.
and this kind of thing, and they all wanted to keep in touch and tell me their problem, and what's going on, and all that kind of thing. Whether that's part of it, or just simply that, like we say sometimes, it's a tracking device, and they just would really like to know where I am most of the time.
Do you get any disturbance from it?
Yes, I do. I get these awful whistles from it and stuff. No, I better not say it.
Do you get different frequencies or noises
Yes.
when a craft is?
Yes, I do. Very much so. And Ken, he's got a thing downstairs. And there was a time when it was a little while ago, and it was whistling away there, and he put this little rod thing against it, and it bleeped.
Really?
Yeah, so it was picking up the actual.
Some frequencies.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I thought, right,
Are you aware of any others?
No,
Such
not.
as the right ear.
I think so. I think there may be one in my heel down there, because it's always tender there, and I can't get to it. It's like it doesn't want to be touched and things, and I have a feeling there's something there. But the rest of the time they just do what they like and then clear off again.
Yeah. And you were saying when we spoke a while ago as well that you think the abductions are continuing to this day, and that you had one as recently. We're in 22nd of August, aren't we today? I think.
Yeah, I had one about 2-3 weeks ago.
2-3 weeks ago. So that's probably the beginning of August, probably end of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
2000.
And the funny thing is, I had a friend from Bedford had had a similar experience, which is one of the connections I made when I was up there too.
Yeah.
She was one of the girls, one of the ladies that came.
Do you think, I've always asked this question, one about the blood type
Yes.
you can talk about, and also
Yes, I can tell you.
whether you feel you have any specific ability over and above, say, my abilities, that wouldn't be so developed, or something extra.
I don't know.
For example, a lot of people, not to lead or anything, but a lot of people have some kind of precognitive or premonition kind of
Yes, I do have that occasionally. Yeah.
heightened sense
Yes,
of various
and I
things and
do before
abilities.
sighting. It's like I know when there's a sighting. I mean, we had one Tuesday last week.
So you're the
about
go-to
1:30.
gal to see a craft.
I have done. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a repeater witness, definitely. And I said to Ken, get your camera, get it now. And he got it on camera as it came across the
Right.
sky. And this happens quite often. And it's like, and I feel slightly in an altered state as well while it's happening, even though I'm functioning perfectly.
Yes.
It's a strange feeling. And then I saw something over there, but that's Surrey Heath, and that's actually, what do you call it, deep cut. And we all
Oh,
know
right.
There's a lot more going on there than meets the eye. And I saw this, I don't know, like a sort of plasma type thing. It was quite this sort of shape, red and orange.
Yeah.
And I said to Ken, can you get the camera? He said, I don't, yeah, but I said, oh no, it's moving, it's going behind the big tree over there. And we couldn't see it after that. That was it had gone. But whatever it was low down. So that was about 2 or 3 minutes after we'd seen the other side. Maybe it was the same thing and come down lower.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
So-
yes, I do have those things. And I'm so used to it, I'll just sort of...
Yes, it's really an integral part of your life by the sounds of it.
is.
How often would you estimate that you've been taken? Could you even estimate?
No.
Or would you be able to say times per week, times per month that you would have been taken?
Well,
I mean, as a general.
well, now, I should say about half a dozen times or more a year.
Right. That's still
Perhaps
quite a lot.
more, but then, so it was a lot more than that back in the days in the late 70s and early 80s
And by how much more would you say?
loads. I mean, it was happening so frequently.
I mean, several times a week or once a week or?
Maybe once or twice a week sometimes.
Mm.
And then it would,
That's a lot.
after about 82, 83, it began to go out a bit more into months and so on.
And was it always the same kind of craft experience beings?
I think it was, being that it was as well the greys being on the craft, for me anyway, it seemed to be. You see, when I go on perhaps to the crisis abduction, I have no recall of this particular abduction. I woke up on the 10th of October 1994. I was extremely unwell, migraine, my head was thumping like mad as it does. I was almost unable to put one foot in front of the other. I had Sally to care for. How was I going to get through the day? I dragged myself to the bathroom, and it was there when I was having a wash that I saw this huge black distended bruise, all the distended veins in it. They were absolutely black it was. I thought, oh my God, now what have they done to me? And I was, the dizziness, everything, it was just awful. And I went through the day. I had a meeting that night, but I didn't honestly think I could go because I wasn't well enough. But I could not find anyone that would step in for me. So I had to flipping well do it. And when I came home, I was so tired. All I wanted to do was sleep, but I was scared to sleep. But then the flashbacks started, and they came one after the other, right back to when I was 5. I had flashbacks of being in the craft and these weird babies, flashbacks of all sort, different things, all disjointed, but making some sense in a way because they'd been covered for so long, and it blew my mind. It literally blew my mind, and I thought to myself, I've got to go on automatic pilot. And I lived on automatic pilot for 8 months. I just did everything
Like an automaton.
totally. Tried to love Sally best I could, but then I thought, right, I'm going to have to do something about this. I'm either going to have to go completely doolally, and then who the hell looks after my little darling, or I have to come through it and go on somehow. So I thought, first of all, I rang to the ex-policeman,
Tony Dodd.
Dodd in Brassington, spoke to Tony, and he said, he asked me all about different things, and I was ticking off all the boxes. And he said, yeah, definitely you are an abductee, and I'll write you a little letter, he said, as well, if I can help in any way. Then Margaret Fry, and she said, oh my dear, she said, there's been so many abductions from just outside Cardiff. She said, you've got no idea. I said, well, we didn't drive there, we found ourselves. Oh yes, she said, this is what's happening.
Oh, is that where your crisis abduction happened?
Well, that was the one coming back from through Wales from Fishguard. We'd been in Ireland for a few days, you see, and we took the night ferry across, and so we went down to Haverford West, and then we pointed the car east on what little roads there were, because there was no M4 then. And we've got no recall. I don't think, well, hardly remembers anything anyway. He was just driving. But something happened, I think, just outside Swansea, just somewhere around there, because there's no recall at all. And we find ourselves daybreak, sitting in a garage forecourt, sand here of the River Severn. You can see Somerset in the distance, and you can see Weston-super-Mare, and right out there, if you look carefully, you can see the bridge. Takes you back over to England. That's what I saw, and I was so ill. And I say, he made me, because we ran out of money. He said to me, you have what there is, get yourself, an egg and something else, toast or whatever. Get some food into you, I don't want you with a migraine. The next morning I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And I didn't want me with a migraine either, but I had one. I was really ill. My head was spinning, literally. And he said, oh, I've had enough of this. He was getting really angry with me. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't ask for this to happen. I don't know what's happened, but I'm not right, and something's happened. Anyway, we paid by stamps across the bridge. That's all we had left. And then as soon as we got to a bank, I got some money out and so on. When we got home, as I say, I undressed, he was cooking, and I had this triangular mark on my stomach, and that's
Whereabouts
all I remember.
was that then, Hilary?
Pardon?
Can you just point to where that was? So,
Out there. It's
Okay.
near where the ovaries are.
and it looks like it was quite a big.
Yeah, it was
Large.
quite large, yeah. It was like sort of blood stain, it was weird, but it was on the skin. I didn't see any, I can remember puncture wounds in the skin, but it was well weird, whatever it was. And I fell asleep, and then I woke up and I had my first meal for that day, my only meal I think. Then this particular one didn't come back, any memory of it other than what I had there, till 1977. And then I had not only the hexagonal craft which took me, and you can verify that because Omar Fowler came, and he I did a drawing of the hexagonal craft, and I did the pipe work underneath. And at the time he said, "Oh my God," he said, "how the heck did you get that?" He said, "I've been working on that," he said, "for ages." He said, "That is just what I need. That's got to go to America." I said, "It's not going anywhere." I said, that's my files, you know. I said, "I'll draw you one. You know, you can have that." And that verified that. But straight with it as well, straight all together, was the Welsh abduction. And the Welsh abduction, it's all a... Let's stop the drink.
So then you got hold of Omar Fowler, who's a researcher, and this
Yes.
was the drawing. I'm going to let you take
Yes.
over from that. Can we see that,
well,
Hilary?
This drawing, Omar didn't know much about because I didn't tell him about.
Ah.
But the two abductions came together, and whilst I was having the abduction of the hexagonal craft, and the fact that I was being taken, you know, I knew I'd been taken by that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the drawing I had. This came in as well, and it's 7 years from 1970 to 1977 when I got the flashback of what happened to me.
Right.
And it's a complete and utter lie because, have you got that one? Okay.
And again, this is just whilst Hilary is showing you this picture, this is something that has come up before, and this is that some of the screen memories or cover memories that are given are absolutely false. False, double false.
Yeah, this is correct.
But I'm going to let
what
Hilary...
happened to me was not
Yes,
correct.
tell you a bit more about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get off
It
screen.
was, that's fine. It was like 3 a.m. and not 3 p.m. What they gave me was about 3 p.m. with the sun over in the southwest, more or less, well not quite that far, you know, an afternoon, and people walking on the beach and things like that, and some aliens, would you believe, on the beach, smaller ones which I can't get their faces, either the large or the smaller one. The large one had like this picture, a green overall on, and he had a box around his chest, and he said to me, "I'm so glad you come, you can be part of the team." So I said, "Oh, thank you." So he said, "I'm going to press these buttons, and when I do this, there's going to be seismic activity on the beach." He said, "and when that happens, all the people on the beach are going to be very, very cross, and we're going to have to run away. So this is how it comes out." So he did this, and everything, and he said, "Run, run, run." And there was like 2 sets of Georgian terraced houses, and the road running up, and we're running up this hill, you know, Wales, you know, and then we come to the next row of houses. He said, "Go down there, go down." Run. I run past about 7 houses, then there's a clearing, and in the clearing are just loads of old weeds and things, and a path going, you can close that hill, going down gradually, and then just down onto the beach road again, where there's like 2, you know, the KA cars, you know, little, well, it's a little bit like that. They were rounded and black. And he said, "Get in one of those as quickly as you can, run. I'm going into the front seat, and then I find myself, I'm not in a car at all. I'm sitting, you know, in that seat,
Okay.
in this craft. And as I was there, and I noticed that everything was centrally connected to the floor. Big, large black table, which is ominous, isn't it? But nothing to my memory. The green figured chap that was outside was here, and I said to him, and still can't see their faces or what their heads were like, "Can I see that console?" And I noticed how beautifully fashioned it was with the wall of the craft.
And as an engineer, you'd appreciate that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He said, "Of course you can." So I walked to the side of him, and there's a
And was,
grid.
was the communication telepathic?
Telepathic,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but and it seemed quite normal, always does. And the grid system, there was a light moving quite rapidly across the grid system, and then I turned and then I saw the chap actually, the pilot, piloting the craft, big horseshoe-shaped glass window, and he's sitting again on one of the stools, and I've had someone verified this for me as well, that not only was he working levers, that sort of thing, but he was also doing something as well with his feet. But my God, we weren't half moving. We were out across the Severn and we were coming into Somerset levels, or I don't know where we went, because then that's it. I don't get any more from that. That is it. And it was the weirdest thing out, but I knew that it was an absolute pack of lies. You know, this might be real, but the timing and everything else was not.
Do you think that they were messing with the timing just to sort of mess with your head, or do you think that there was a reason that they wanted you to know it was or think it was a day and not a night, or the other way around?
Well, I thought, knowing when thinking back, it was night. Yeah, I think they're messing with your head a bit. They're trying to create things, and I know they do create, because you know, from other people I've spoken to, they manipulate time. They can where you are, what you see, all sorts of things. They're very, very clever at doing this sort of thing. So I say Margaret Fry knew all about this area, and she said, yeah.
Which area in Wales is that?
This is just outside Cardiff where
Right.
it happened, and you could see those different things all around. And I was so ill, and we had just a packet of biscuits. He said, get a biscuit into you, might feel a bit better. But
was it around this time that you had this jumper, brand new jumper that you'd got?
no, that came in '94.
Okay.
The crisis abduction, when I went to get my clothes on to go out to this meeting.
Right, so sorry, I know I've
been
interrupted
ill all
you.
day.
We're 94 now, are we?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but jumped back into '94.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll go to the wardrobe and choose a jumper or something. It's getting a bit chilly, you know. So I did, and I chose my cream one. I thought, I know what, I'll wear my new cream sweater. Maybe it'll cheer me up a little bit.
Can we have a look at that, Hilary?
Yeah, you know. So
So if I just come on and have a little look for you, let me help you with it. There we go. So what we're looking at actually,
yeah,
if I
closer to the camera.
if I sort of hold that here,
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
what we've got are stains. Can you get in on one of those, or those
And there's a huge piece that's been where the worst of it was been cut out for analysis.
So what this is a brand new jumper.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then you had an event.
Yeah, well, I had this abduction, and it left me with this massive bruise on my
That's the
forearm,
one you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
where the worst of the stain was,
Right.
and everything. And I put it on just for a minute to and I was upset and angry. And I threw it off, and I'm going to throw it on the floor. It did annoy me then, you know, because I hadn't heard of this before, and I thought, I wonder if I can get the stains out, but I couldn't, not at all.
We hear quite frequently about orangey, rusty coloured stains, and these look now, because you have actually washed this, haven't you?
Only once, but it
Once.
didn't alter the colour or anything
Right.
whatsoever.
So we've got a sort of toward orangey, maybe like an
yes,
orangey
it's
colour.
altered the weave slightly.
Yeah. And you also said
Excuse
that
me.
out of this large piece here, this has been
Yeah.
analysed.
Yes, we have a physicist that came on board about 5 years ago,
Okay.
and he said, if you've got anything I can help you with, I'd be only too pleased.
I would really love someone like the biolocation team to come and have a test to look at the stains, and the stains as in the archaeological remnants chemically of that. That would be some more further interesting research.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks for that.
That's
Hilary.
okay. So looking at it
I'll let
like
you
that,
carry
I thought, well, no, I'm going to keep it, you know, and I'll put it away till sometime when it may be needed.
Yeah.
You know, this could be important for the future. But I didn't know how or what because I hadn't got that far yet. So I had all these flashbacks, as I say, that night, and it did my head in completely.
I was just going to say, how did you
Yeah,
cope with it
I
mentally, emotionally?
I didn't. I went 8 months or so, and then I decided that, and after that as well, it was 8 months or more before I rang Tony Dodd from Grassington, ex-policeman, and also Margaret Fry. And I thought, if I get these verified, then, you know, I'll start working forward gradually, if I can. And I thought, I've got to do this. It doesn't matter how hard it is, I've got to do it.
Is that what made you become a researcher yourself?
Well, I was anyway, but
Right,
I had no
okay.
idea, you know, just how much it had encroached on my life and what was going on. It was just a pure revelation. The stuff, you know, I thought, oh, God. You know, even like a little girlie down at my nan's, and we've got a monastery over there, it's St Michael's Abbey, and seeing the monks. And I suppose monks would be frightening to anyone, but I had a certain, they were in brownie coloured things as well, and I would scream, Nanny, 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 and rush into the house. Maybe there was more reason for that than meets the eye now when you know. So anyway, once verified, I decided I now needed to study, get on and find a book on abductions and things like that. So I decided to go to Aldershot, to the W.H. Smiths. I went all the way along the, you know, the sci-fi thing, you know, you name it, all those things there. I found nothing at all. And I felt very low, and I thought, well, you know, I've got to find something. I've got to start, you know, I'll go balmy again, you know, it's just too much. I was just about to walk out when like a voice said, turn round. So I turned round, and there on the end shelf, all on its own, right in the middle, was a book by David Jacobs on abduction. Wow! So I picked the book up and I thought, that's exactly what I need. Paid for it, rushed home and started reading a bit, and then it started to make me start, oh, and then I thought, I've got to find out about the stains. I've got to, and then just as I turned the page, it says, if you're finding this really difficult to read, it's because you're an abductee. You know, give it a break, you know. And I thought, well, I'm just going to, you know, chapter 7. Yes, the stains existed, they were real. And I realised how important then that jumper was, because they had not evaporated. Like he maintained, they had all evaporated, and everybody he'd counselled and was with, they could not keep the stain, but I had it. So I carried on from there, learning as much as I could. Then Ken came down in '96 because we had a lot of sightings here, a lot of things were going on, and I said, I just need someone to verify, you know, what's going on and what you're seeing here. And he said, this is the most weird place I think I've ever seen in my life. He said, you know, no wonder you're seeing stuff and what have you. And we were just friends, and he would ring or I'd ring, and we'd talk for hours sometimes. Then he said, I want to invite you, it was '97 Christmas, to do the talk for me for B.E.A.M.S. Would you do that? So I said, well, yes, all right then. He said, you've got a lot of material and we're going to base it on abduction and stuff. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I was scared out of my brain, but I thought I will do it. I went up there, I went to, can I just say, have I got time? Yes, I must. I got out.
You want to take 5?
No, I got out of the taxi. Well, the thing was, the taxi took me the wrong way. But that was for a reason, because Ken and I both had an out-of-body experience, and the very bridge that I saw in Bedford, that I saw him at, you know, in this out-of-body sort of dream come...
Oh right, was that a long time past, or was that something...
No, that was just leading, you know, just before I actually went to Bedford.
Oh right.
And I'd never been there in my life, and he was there, you know, and I And then when we came up the side of the river and onto the, I said, that's it, that's where the out-of-body experience was, you know. And he verified that, you know, he too had the out-of-body experiences. So I had to go that way to see that. Well, I got out of the taxi when we arrived at the right place. I went in the side door and it had visitors section on there. I went cold instantly. As you say, do you get these? I thought, oh my God, I can't stay here. No, I can't.
Remind me where we are. I've just lost track.
Well, we're in the B.E.A.M.S. We're going to the B.E.A.M.S meeting.
That's right. Yes.
And we're going to. The hall is down the way, and we're staying. Another lady who was elderly.
What hall was it?
It was the Edward Arnold Court. It was an old folks' place, funny enough. But Emily goes right back to her Dansky days. She was bright. She still is, bless her. I think. God bless her. And she's 95, I think now. She's still alive. We were going into this hall in the evening to do this where B.E.A.M.S was, and I thought, no, I can't stay here. Anyway, cut a long story short, we went back down there later. I still felt bad about it, and she said, this is where you're staying, love, and everything, and I thought, oh my God. I knew I was going to be abducted. I knew that was what was going to happen to me. I wasn't just because I was going to do the talk or whatever, I knew. And then...
was it, what gave you that certainty? What sort of...
Well, I had a premonition of greys and also some little black beings, which Ken says are all part of the tall beings. His friend had seen these smaller ones, but he never told me about that.
Were they like greys but black? Or?
No, they had black helmets and little black suits, and tiny like the greys, quite small. And one of them broke into this friend of his house, and the three of them, and his twin brother and sister, all saw this thing go into the house. It melted like the glass and it went through the wall. All this business, but I didn't know about that at the time. I thought, oh my God, I can't stay here. What am I going to do? Anyway, I thought, right, deep breath, go into the hall. I was all set up, everything, and about a dozen people, 10 dozen people, walked in the door. Mostly women, there were a couple of men, and it was like I know them. I know their faces. Oh wow, and they were looking at me too, yeah, really looking at me, and I thought, flipping it, this is well weird. Anyway, they went, sat down with the others. I mean, we had about 30 odd people, I mean, for that size room, it was standing room only so at the end. And I talked through the first lot, and then we had tea break. They all got up and they all came all around me. And they said, we're so sorry. It was like almost like a magnet drawing a magnet. You know, so sorry we're staring at you and everything, but we know you, we just know you. I said, well, this was even before I've been on TV or anything, you know. How the heck did you know me? Anyway, then I said, but I know you too. I said, I know every one of you, I know you. And so we went outside into the other little hallway place there, and we talked, and I said, I tell you what, I said, have you got a scar here, a little raised scar? Yes, yeah, we've got that. Have you got the scar down? Yeah, we've got that. And so on and so forth, men and all. And then the penny dropped. Suddenly we realised it's where we've been on the craft. And I said, you know what's happened, don't you? And I said, it's when we go on the craft. And I said that now brings back yet again another another memory. And I said, I'll tell it now. I said, can you remember a white room? It's got diffused lighting. We're sitting on little benches, a bit like school benches in a gym, all white, and we've got little white
like robes or something?
Yeah, bathrobe type things, yeah. And we're sitting there all on these things waiting. Yes, they said, that sounds familiar. I said, right, we're really getting somewhere now, aren't we? And then I said, do you remember that all of a sudden, there's no doors in there or anything, but the wall opens up, and then the creatures come to, yeah, and then you see the bigger place with the tables, and yes, they all said, don't want to think about it, but yeah, that sounds very familiar. So, in a way, that started it all off, and then exchanged addresses and phone numbers, because I didn't have a computer in those days, and so on. So, and they said, well, we want to keep in touch, definitely, and they want you to keep in touch with us, and so, well, I said, well, this is, my address, and they did for quite a while.
And was there an abduction incident that night?
Well, let's put it this way, they would have been, but something strange happened. Emily had the keys, so she'd already been in there earlier that evening. We went back, it was now 20 past midnight. She put the key in the lock, and the key wouldn't engage. It just went round and round and round. She said, what the heck's happening here? Oh, it was quite chilly too. Oh, flipping it, she said. Then she went round the other door, which I first came in on the road, and it went round and round. It just would not engage. She just couldn't open the place at all, So she said, after about 10 minutes nearly, we were beginning to get chilly. What can we do, Hill? She said, you'll have to come and stay up with me in my little flat. I said, I could sleep on the floor, darling. I said, I'm so tired. I said, really, don't worry about me. And so we went back up. We see what she was doing. I said to her, I don't feel very comfortable about going down there. Bless her heart. She said, I'll go down with you. I'll come and stay with you. Then when we got back upstairs and we made another warm drink to warm us up, she said, that's weird, that's something not right. Anyway, she said, you must have my bed. I'm tiny, I can sleep with my feet up on the 2 armchairs. I said, oh no, Em, I can't put you through that. You can, and you will. So, it's very, very bossy, lovely lady. She made the breakfast the next day. The foreman came in, who goes round the flats to check everybody's all right. 8 o'clock in the morning. She said, flipping it, lady. She said, you're up early. She didn't have any idea we never slept there. And then when she'd gone, she said, I think I know that you were absolutely right, and that you would have been abducted, and you had to stay here with me for your safety. So she said, and then they began to look in. She said, I already know that this is Hills Ground Road as well, and there's a Saxon burial site here, and there's all sorts of strange stuff goes on all the time. Kiddies' toys start up on their own, all sorts of weird things. But she said there is something else that she said it was a MIB, like just a day or two before you came up.
And a MIB being?
Man in Black.
Yeah.
And it was walking up and down right by that area, she said, where you were going to stay for some reason. And she said that someone alerted the people that run the place, and they kept an eye open because, and then for that reason alone, they had everything, all the walkways and everything's covered and things like that. But she said something pretty weird was going on. So she said, I'm so glad that we didn't stay, or you stay down there. So
isn't that interesting? So, and again, you kind of wonder what might have come of that abduction if it had been something very different indeed. Now, I want to just mention something. You've got a picture, Hilary, of a triangular craft. And you called it something interesting. What did you call it?
That's the abductor.
The abductor craft.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Would you mind just telling us a bit about that? Because I think all of these areas are of interest.
You hear when you've had reports of... Sorry. Okay. When you've had reports of what they say sounds a little bit like helicopters.
Yeah.
But they're not. It's not a helicopter. It's a pulsed craft. It goes sort of sound, and you think it's the rotor blades, but it's not. It's much smoother than that. This thing is usually completely blacked out with just the odd few lights on it, and you can't see its shape or anything, but it goes around the place, you know, and it's got the red and green lights, and it's got I may have another picture of it in here. Anyway, it kind of, you know, just looking at it, you may think, yes, that's just a helicopter. You know, you're busy doing what you're doing. You're not really at night, probably. You're not taking as much notice, perhaps, as you should do. But I noticed it was far from that. It was pulsed sound, and it came in, and it was all dark. You could not see its shape or anything, and for years, first of all, it started in '95, and it was going at about a 2-mile radius, round and round and round out there.
How did you see it?
I saw it from this window, and I saw it had like an appendage out the back of it, which was also black, but it had little red lights in it, tiny, and it was a blush, something issuing a blush pink sort of smoke or something strange, and it was hitting the rooftops and the hedgerows and things as it went round.
Have you got any idea or thoughts about what that blush pinky smoke could possibly be?
No, not fully. It seemed to bobble up and down over treetops quite a lot, and my friend who was nearer to the school, right over there where it was coming in at an angle, saw it doing exactly that, and she said it was really low hill. She thought it was a helicopter, but couldn't understand, you know, what on earth was it doing. You know. So, but then she thought, no, maybe it's not. You know, it's weird. So it went round and round at least 40 times or 50 times. Then it did a kind of figure of 8 and disappeared over into the lower end of Camberley, over there. And you could hear it again near schools or something, just over there.
You've shown it on the picture. It looks like there's a beam emanating
Yes.
from it.
Well, this
specifically
didn't happen until we'd had one mutilation up on the horses' field, and it was a summer evening about this time of year, and it came in, and I heard the horse go "ee" like that, and I thought, oh my God. And then there was nothing more, but what it did, it set up all the animals everywhere, all the birds, and you know, it just made one big cacophony of noise, you know. Then it went silent. There was all the horses whinnying all the way down through the fields, because it's quite a big area for them. All the way through the fields, and you thought, flipping heck, you know. And when it was down, I thought, oh my God, what's it going to do? Anyway, I never saw anything or heard anything more. Then, 96, I mean, it come in, it targeted all the schools, first of all. Went through over every school, including this one here, putting beams of light like this, cloaked up. It's cloaked, you see. This is the thing, it's cloaked. And it's going like this, zigzagging this light.
And you can see, because it's got these little
you could
few
just
lights
look out
on.
the window there.
Yeah.
It's there. And then it did the houses just over by the side of the school a little bit. And I thought, I don't like the look of this. Oh boy.
Do you think that's one of ours? Military?
No, I don't.
You don't think it is?
No.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you why. Then 96 Christmas, it was 16th of December, and I was going to rehearsals we were in panto and stuff, and just coming out, it was 10 to 8, this thing always travelled in at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Now it was here at 10 to 8 in the evening, and I thought, flipping heck, it's so early, and it went sort of round and round and back again. Then it went on to the other estate, and I thought, wow. So I kept an eye where it was, and we gradually went up onto the Farnborough Road and then over the A331 and then down as I was going towards Mitchett. I managed to get, because everything was going dead slow, and I thought, wow, it's every man for himself up here usually, you know, and it was, this is well weird as well. Anyway, I zigzagged through the cars and got right out. I didn't want to be anywhere near this, but I wanted to see what was going on. Anyway, it came from over the way there, down towards the bridge, then it decloaked, and there it was hanging there like that. And I thought, my God, look at that.
With that light shining down?
Yes,
from it,
diffused in some way, but
Yeah.
it was hitting every car, every bus, every
Was
lorry,
it?
everything. And I thought, oh, look at that. Just look at it. And about 30 seconds, something seemed longer somehow. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
incredible. Then it cloaked back up again. By the time I'd just got a little way down the road, going towards Mitchett, which is only a 5-minute run, you know, on the Valley Road before you're turning off, it had gone over the water treatment plant. And it had gone back into its red and green light and a bit of white, and it was going stop dead, and stop dead, and it just kept doing it. I thought, right, and I zipped into the place, parked up, straight in, see who was there, and we had quite a few of us, you know, ready for rehearsals. Bang the fire door, out here. I said, quick, 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 quick. They all came out, and I said, take a look at that, and they were all looking. What the heck's that? Wow, what's it doing? I said, well, you know, you've got any idea what sort of G-forces that might be? You know, yeah, wow. You know, and then we had that year we had a woman, military, that was doing our directing, and she said, in everybody, in, you're not going to learn anything from this, it's only a helicopter, blah, blah, blah. I thought, yes, some helicopter.
Maybe she was managing.
Ah, she knew, she had a good idea that something was.
So who started reporting the horses being?
I did.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I like you say, the sixth sense, whatever, you know, I knew when this thing was in and I couldn't sleep. Even Sally used to stay up sometimes just to wait.
Did you go to the farmer's field, or did you go? Did you find horses yourself?
Well, what I did, it came in. Well, I saw a straight edge of something. Could have been that. Just seeing early morning, very early morning, like 3:30, the end of April, early May, coming in. There were 2 golden orbs that came down as well from the sky. Went down over there in the fields over there, and the sky, you could just see the sort of daybreak coming, you know. And neither Sally or I hardly slept all night. This thing was going over and over and over, round and round. What the heck was it doing? But you felt very uncomfortable. So anyway, this particular occasion, I didn't know what had happened to the horse, but I rang, and they said, we can't say very much, but...
Did you ring the police, is this, or...?
No, I rang the young girls that were looking after the horses.
Okay.
Early in the morning, about 8:20 something. I said, there may be something in your field, you know, maybe a horse, something. Anyway, I didn't get to hear what had happened, but my birthday is the end of May, and funny thing is, my ex, Robert at the time, he said to me, that lady over there in the pub, because I had 2 hours to have a birthday because I was a carer, and that's all the time I got. And he said she billets her horse up there on. I thought, why is he telling me? That's so useful. He had to tell me. Anyway, I said, well, do you think I could talk to her? I need to interview her. So I said to her, you know, what was that? I said, if I said your horses have not been eating, and I said that, because I did drive around there the following day and saw them all clustered in bunches in the corner of the fields. So, and I said, and you know, you've got a job to ride them and things like that. Ride them? She said, we're having a terrible time. I said, what's happened? So she said, one of the horses had huge cuts on the backs of its leg, and we've gone through everything and we can't find out what it is that's harmed this horse. I said, well, I think if I said it came from up there and came down, I think that's the only answer. She said, so I said, flipping heck, you know. And this, I learnt from that. Then another occasion it happened, and this horse, it was early September, about a year later, and this thing comes in, cloaked up, but it has a oblong mirror, well, not mirror, a light, only square attachment on it. And I thought, oh, I do not like the look of that. And it went flying, came over this house about 6 times, and then it landed over there. And I thought, and it was now about one.
Did you see it land?
Yes, I saw it come down.
What shape was that? Was that the triangular one?
Yeah, but it was cloaked.
Right.
I not only heard after about 5 minutes, because the horses were all whinnying to each other, and again all the animals going by me. Everything went silent. Then the horse whinnied. It was in pain. But I smelt burning hair and this waft of burning. Oh God! Oh, this is awful. Oh, there's nothing you can do. I was in tears. I thought, oh, what the hell are they doing? Then the smell of burning flesh started wafting across as well. I mean, you know it, don't you? You know what it's nothing. Oh, it was awful. And this went on for a while, and then there was complete silence. I never saw the thing leave, but it can move around quite quietly if it wants to. And I guess it did what it did. And anyway, when I phoned this time, and I said, the woman herself was there, and I said, something happened overnight. It's none of your damn business, she said. So I said, well, I saw this thing come in, and I smelt burning hair and burning flesh, and really worried about your horses. What did I just say? She said, it's none of your bloody business. So she said, don't you phone here ever again. And she was really nice. I said, I think you've told me everything I want to know. You wouldn't be like this if nothing had happened. So, and I've never been able to phone again because.
And how did you know that there were 31 over the period of time that had been...
No, they hadn't all been damaged.
Right.
There was 31 horses. But when I asked the girls, why don't you keep them in the stables?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be far safer, surely, Oh, no, they won't, they said. And their answer was, when they hear that thing, they go balmy.
Mm-hmm.
And they knock themselves to pieces. In the stables, they hurt their legs, their bodies, everything. They really well, this is the lesser of the two evils.
Yes.
So I said, oh my God. Yeah, that's just...
And so nobody's been to investigate that specifically?
No.
No, right.
No, not now.
Yeah.
But so, yeah.
Did that stop after,
It's got less, gradually got less. But we were hearing of them all around the area, in different places where there are horses and things.
That was sort of 96-ish, did you say?
Well, we got to 97,
Right.
98, 99 a bit, and then papers. There was very nasty horse mutilation over in some place in Surrey. So it was in the paper, and then also near the Hog's Back, or somewhere near that way. The woman had seen strange lights being shone down on the stables and the horses. Yes. And you're getting these little bits of feedback, which was my research, I wanted to know. And what have they got? They've got cows and that walking up and down or out on the Surrey Heath. They've got GPS satellite collars, 2 of them. They're the leaders, as it were, of the pack. And it does make you wonder, what it is that they're looking for. 2 and 2.
Yeah, we don't know. Don't know exactly.
And we've seen a lot of UFO activity.
Yeah.
A lot.
So, well, thank you for that. That's absolutely fascinating. And so, really, unless you have, apart from the blood group, we didn't actually talk about that.
Yes, I would like. Yes. Yes. The blood
Do you
group.
need 5?
My particular background is Levitical Jewish.
Oh,
my father.
Interesting.
My father. It goes right back to Abraham, Isaac, and all that lot. I mean, we're just. Each generation has gone down through, and Aaron and Moses, all that. And we are the Levies, and we've got all the different names, and they're very well revered in Israel, in the Habakkuk University, the Meisels family and everything. And that's my background, and I think because my mother wasn't Jewish, my father was, that they were concerned perhaps about my gene bank, what was going on, because had we watered this down a bit, this is what I think. I may not be, but well, don't worry, there's plenty in there, plenty. So that was my background. I found that there are many more in that background. There are...
Do you mean many more to do with this
It is
scenario?
Jewish sort of background, but Levitical, I'm not sure. I mean, that's me.
Yes, that's interesting. So we were talking about the fact that you're A positive. I'm
Yes.
also A positive.
Yes.
Um,
And I don't know all of them, because they don't always know when I ask them. But we've got all the Celtic people, Celtic background, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, Celtic French. They are all abductees. The Romani gypsies.
yes,
And I've
yes.
had a load of those.
Mm.
They are abductees. All the indigenous peoples, as in, the Maoris, the Aussies,
Yes, it's
pardon?
the
What do you call this?
just gone. The Aborigines.
Aborigines,
yeah.
brain's going. It went years ago. Yes, those, and the Red Indian,
Yeah.
and all this sort of thing. all
From
around the
your
world.
own research, from
Yeah, this is
locally, or from where
This
you.
is what I've been gaining
Yeah.
from different
Okay.
people. What is your background? And they seem to all fall into these categories, which covers really quite a lot, doesn't it?
Well, we also interviewed someone recently who is Jamaican background,
Now that's interesting.
but with Irish and Egyptian and Sierra Leone at the back, and I thought, wow,
Yeah,
what a
that's
combination!
good. I am pleased to hear that because there's very few,
Yeah,
people of those backgrounds,
yes,
either in the subject or,
yeah, that's right.
I'm sure there must be.
Yeah,
There must be.
yes.
So I've been working with this for quite some time, and it all falls into these various categories. I'm trying to think of any more.
Well, we're just going to bring to a close this absolutely
Yeah.
fascinating interview, Hilary, and thank you for being so patient with us and
You're
going through so
welcome.
much. And I know you said you'll probably have a lot more to tell us another time, and
Yeah, perhaps,
we'll
perhaps
catch you.
something or
Yeah, but is there
That's
anything
fine.
specifically you'd like to share that has been maybe a big impact for you from your experiences that may help others, or some information that perhaps we haven't touched on yet that would be of interest?
All I know is that once I was beginning the walk of being an alien abduction counsellor, I knew from my own experience, which was extreme, not just physically painful but mentally painful, that I would be there for others. I thought, if I can do that, because it was such a lonely place, desperately lonely.
That's what I'm hearing too.
And you can't, family, or you just can't. I mean, they all think, and yet they've had experiences of their own. My family, some of them,
Yeah.
kiddies when they were growing up, seeing red eyes, yellow eyes, and God knows what over there when they lived in Mitchett.
And are you still
Called me
available as an abductee counsellor?
Yeah, yes, they come onto the website and they see,
Great.
they go onto the icon as it were,
Yes.
and they see,
Good.
oh right, and they,
So we could
But,
send some people your way.
yeah,
if,
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, I
Okay,
find
that's great.
they fall into various categories, and I just want to say the category where some of them just this and that and the others happen to me. Am I an abductee, do you think? And very often they've hit the nail on the head and I say, yes you are, and you'll never hear from them again. There's others that are right reams and reams and reams and reams, and you don't know how to get through it all. You know, you can't almost. You know, but you know, it's all falling out of us.
I think that's
So
kind of a
much.
therapeutic process for them as well.
It is,
For
exactly.
people to express
Yeah.
that.
And I've said to them, you know, when you can, if you feel up to it, you know, you may talk, you may find it better if you just phone
Yeah.
or something and we talk together, because it's so much easier than this automatic, you know.
Yeah. Do
writing
you?
emails.
What is the website for BEAMS? Which is the?
It's,
Tell me
BEAMS,
again. Is
yeah.
British
uh,
Earth?
well, yeah, it's BEAMSinvestigations.org.
BeamsInvestigations.org. Okay.
Yeah, and Ken's put the icons up and everything, and you can go to anything.
And Ken is your
He's my partner.
and works with you on BEAMS, or you work with him on BEAMS,
yeah, we
right? Ken
we work
Parsons.
together, you know,
Yeah,
because
fantastic.
you know, I'm vice chairman, he's chairman. You know, so
Okay, so people
Yeah.
can catch you on there.
Do you have any advice for anybody that might be watching this that have similar experiences?
well, it's not the end of the world. You know you're an abductee and everything like that, that you're falling into those categories. You are just one of thousands of people.
I actually think
Throughout
it's
the world.
millions globally.
Millions is more like it now. We're getting, it's the numbers increasing all the time.
Do you know why? Do you know why?
Yes, I think I do now with the study. They are making hybrids, and they've been doing it for a very long time, decades and decades. And as I told about my own thing there, but I am, as abductees, perhaps we live on a higher vibratory rate, and when they are in our presence, or whether, we pick it up very easily, and they think, oh, right, and you know they're there amongst you and everything. But you see, there again, they're part us, and they're part them. But so, what does one do? You know, we can't say they can't exist, or you know, like many have said, they're probably the ability to reproduce has gone down the drain. They can't do it. They're needing our genetics, all the stuff from us, in order to reproduce and to survive.
Do you think there is anything as a final comment about the hybrids being brought to Earth for living here and
Well, I don't know
interacting
where
with
it's
us?
going to end up. I hope it's going to be a peaceful transition, but that is something we're all going to have to wait and see, I'm afraid.
Well, Hilary Porter, thank you very much for another Ammach interview.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Hilary Porter very much for an absolutely fantastic and enlightening interview, and I'm sure, like me, you'll find there is absolutely lots there to think about. Hilary said that she's still available as an abduction counsellor, so please do go visit their website, and you'll see that at the end of the credits. If you want to talk to Ammach about anything else or any issues that are raised from Hilary's work, then please do, you know where we are. Details at the end. I'd like to thank Adam Chatterton, again, a new associate of that little voice you'd have heard off camera there asking you a question. And just to say thank you for everybody else again for supporting Ammach, and we'll be seeing you again.
Georgia Dansky and that.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
we don't
that's right.
hear about the children
Yeah,
very much at
exactly.
all.
No, we don't.
So this is amazing at that time.
Yes, and so it stayed with me all the time. I say it was about 51 coming up, when I had my first real abduction, because it was then that I saw. I went down into the field near where I lived, and I saw this disc. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't a clue, but it was there. This thing in a bit of a dip in the ground, shall we say? And I'm looking at it, and the inquisitive little what's it that I was. And I laid down in the grass, and I'm splayed out like this, moving and poking my head up and everything. And then suddenly, in front of me is a reptilian. It's what we call a reptilian today. The only way I could explain it was like a tortoise, in the sense that his skin was all scaly, and he was very, very strong, and not only about 5 foot, something like, very, very strong, and he dragged my arms and pulled me across the ground and under this craft. It had a tube underneath, and we went into this tube, and everything was dark. They don't need light at all. And we went up into a round chamber where it looked like consoles and lights and things, and you could just see figures moving in the dark, back and forth. Then suddenly they stripped me of my clothes, threw me onto some sort of surface, and started with this very nasty, sharp, puncturing thing, and digging from my feet upwards and upwards and upwards. Well, I don't remember anymore. I just screamed and screamed and screamed, and the flashback, as it were, stops there, and that's all I can remember.
So how old would you have been at that time, Hilary?
About 5.
About 5 years. That's a fairly extreme experience for a 5-year-old.
It was indeed. It took a lot. I was really very scared, but.
And did you have memory recall of that immediately or generally, or did it then?
Oh, I had none whatsoever
At that time.
The only recall, the only memory, there was nothing at all till '94 when I had the crisis abduction.
Okay.
And they took me down the timeline right the way through, and only allowed what they wanted me to know of each abduction or what went on, and then I came right back to 5 years old, and they replayed it like sepia film.
Really?
And I'm seeing it like that, and I'm laying in this bed here, and I'm desperately in need of sleep because I've been abducted that night before, and huge black bruise here, and very ill all day, and I'm frightened to sleep. But then these flashbacks are coming, more. Oh God! Anyway, I go right back and say I'm seeing myself. But I thought it was a little boy, because my mother had a suit made for me because I was a real tomboy, and there I am crawling through the grass, but I've got a little cap on as well, and I'm thinking, what's all this about? And then suddenly the face comes up, and oh God, it's me. And then I'm not allowed to see the reptile thing, but all the rest came back at that point, and I thought, going on all that time. I did remember about going missing, but no recall where I went. I wish I knew. Maybe I don't want to know. I don't.
So tell us about what she would see happen to you.
Well, from a tiny child, she didn't know about the bedroom visitors because I wouldn't know how to explain it anyway. And they used to materialise through the wall of my bedroom. And they had robed figures in robes, and they would seem to walk across and then through the next wall, as it were. And I couldn't work out what on earth was going on at 2 years old.
At 2 years old, did they seem like people to you?
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed a bit like perhaps biblical figures, something like that. And then just from time to time, they would turn the wall in my bedroom like into a cinema screen, and you would see images, strange things. You weren't sure quite what it was because you were too young.
Yes.
But so I don't know what they think our little brains are able to cope with.
Yeah.
Anyhow, then one day they started to introduce this ball thing that they brought in with them. It floated, and but they could sort of, with their arms, they could make it sort of do all this sort of thing, you know, go up and down and change colour, and then they sort of like, you know, so I put my hand out and yeah, sure, you know, and I could make it do that, and I got the feeling they were perhaps trying to educate me in some way, into using my mind in some way, you know, because I'm so tiny. I mean, but then I do think I'm not, you know, I do think I am different in many ways, really.
So that's sort of when the ball seemed to, would you say, would levitate with your hand underneath it?
Yeah, well, the thing
and
was,
change
it was
colour.
in the air, but you could control it by a little bit by moving your hand up and down, or going like this, and it would go like that, and for a kiddie, you know, a little kid, that was fun. You know, you thought, wow, hey, and then, you know, that was enough.
And who was it that was showing you these things?
These figures, these
the road
figures,
sort of.
Yeah, and then they would just go on, room back into darkness, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then Mum said I had Manny Man, who she thought was real to me because I'd spend hours sitting on the garden step talking and things with him, and she thought, I'm sure she can see who it is she's talking with, but she couldn't see him.
So this Manny Man, do you remember
I have no
any of the
recall.
conversations? No.
They've taken that, and they've taken all recall of when I went missing in the garden, and because that started as well, and they'd shorn the garden up, my parents, so I couldn't get out, but somehow I was out, I was gone, but then Mother was put into this state again where she couldn't move. And
what sort of age would you have been at this time, Hilary?
About 2.5.
Only 2.5, a wee one.
It started.
Yes.
And then she'd have to get on her bike and cycle all around the streets. And
so where would you be found?
Well, I was found, yeah, exactly. Well, I was found in a place that's still there today, in Cove in Farnborough, called Rathborough. And it's another housing estate they made for the Air Force men that worked on the airfield at Farnborough, the Royal Aircraft Establishment.
Yeah. So the time period that we're looking at now is around about 1948, 49, possibly 50.
Yes, yep, exactly.
So again, really interesting in the times, because we've got lots about contactees as adults around this time in America, like George Van Tassel.
No, many people have said, have you been regressed? When I said, no, never. I said, I just don't feel I can cope with it. I can't. It took me long enough to cope with what I learned.
And that is a point, isn't it, Hilary?
Yes.
I know that there are some people I've talked to, because my therapy work can go into regression, and some people have said, gosh, I really couldn't handle any more.
No,
it's enough for, you know, what I've already got. To have any more memories, it would be, you know, kind of blow the fuse.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to know what happened in the Welsh abduction, but anything here, I don't think I can handle at all.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Okay, so you're 5 years old. You've just had that experience of being dragged along, because you did say when we were speaking off camera that they actually dragged you, this reptilian, very roughly over ground before they took you into this craft. And that's an interesting insight, if that's the right word, to see that they didn't need light at all.
No, they didn't.
Unlike ourselves.
Yeah. I would have stumbled around in the dark and think I was, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I just knew I was in this thing.
Yeah.
And they were doing these things to me.
Yeah. And you also said that you still maintained a scar from that event.
Yes.
And that was on your leg, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Got the picture.
Yeah.
Leg, yeah. That is quite common, actually. I know quite a few abductees that have got a scar there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Whether they know how they got it, or what, that's another story.
So, what was the fallout from that experience immediately in your life? I know you didn't remember it, but Did you have any health issues or any behavioural issues as a little one then?
Well, yes, I think I did, because I'd had a paradigm shift before I'd even gone to school, as it were.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at school at all. Not that I couldn't put a finger on it, but I just, I was told I was dyslexic as well, but it was more than that. It was, just coping with life. You know, my brain
Sure.
had been blatted, and to, you know, this business of school was nothing compared, or at least it felt like that, compared with what I'd been through, and I was unable to tell anybody about it, nobody at all. I mean, wouldn't know how to do it anyway at that age, but
Did
yeah,
you have any
I never fitted in at all.
so common
Yeah, just didn't
so
fit in.
common with abductees?
Yeah.
Did you have any pain or physical symptoms, even though you had no memory, that you
I
now
can't
know?
remember
You know,
very much of the actual,
sure.
what they did. All I know, later times I have, but the scar, I think, my leg was sore, I think, a little bit. And, yeah, there was, I think what happened, my knees were all, scar,
Were they scuffed?
yes.
Yeah.
And this came back actually only 2 years ago.
Okay.
It came back as suddenly I was back there again, you know, and this is what happens very often. You know, think, oh, what's this all about? And then what it was, my knees, yeah, they were all, you know,
Grazed or?
raised and
yeah.
sore, and my mother put me on the in the kitchen on the side, you know, on the
Yes.
draining board,
Yeah.
and she went off into the bathroom to get the first aid kit, and I'm sitting right near the window, like just like this, and I'm looking, and I was just sort of looking at, and I saw the disc. The disc came, there was like a thundercloud over the school, big black cloud, and this disc came, sort of slid out partly, and then it went back, or it was out. I got the curtain and I shut the curtain. I do remember that because I didn't want it to see me. It mustn't see me. It mustn't see me. Anyway, and I got right back like that, and my mother said, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's something funny outside, Mummy. I don't like it. I don't like it." And I must have known then, you see, what it was. And she went to the window and she said, "But there's only a thundercloud, darling." She said, "There's nothing there." I said, "But I saw it. And anyway, she did my knees up and cleaned them and everything.
And were the knees from you being dragged
I
along
think
by this
so.
reptilian?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, it kind of went together with the abduction, you know.
Sure.
It was coming back, little bits, fragments of it. And this is what they do. Your mind can grasp fragments of all the different things, but you can't put the whole thing together. It's so hard.
So all throughout then it seems from what you're saying, and we were chatting about off camera, that it seems you've had from babyhood right through your toddlerhood.
Mm-hmm.
So did it carry on, say, past 5 years old?
Oh yes, into young childhood. I moved over here actually, and I had a friend called Janet, and Janet and I would go out to play when we were, I was about 8 or 9 or so, and the woods are over the back here, and we used to cycle on our little bikes, because in those days it was so much freer, you know, no traffic really.
Yeah.
And it was quite a country place, and so often we were found actually one end of the woods, but we were found the other end. We had no idea how we got there, you know, things like that. It was missing time all the time, things like that. And then one day we were standing at the bottom of the road where we lived, looking back up here over onto Fern Hill, and it was a lovely sunny day, and we were just talking at the end of the road. Sally, I said to Janet, "Oh my God, look at that!" And she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "It's a disc." Excuse me. And I said, "Yeah, but it's like it's got a door on it. There's something dark there. Something she said, yeah, I can see that. And then suddenly it zoomed all the way down the lane to right next to the, what they called the, it was a factory. It cleaned out some barrels and things. It was a, what's it called, with oil and things.
Okay.
In them,
Yeah, I
that
can't
kind of
think
thing.
what you...
Right next to that, and it was hanging there in the sky. The door was open and you could see this figure. He was in white, he was standing there in the doorway, and she looked at me and I looked at her. We're off, you know. We were absolutely, well, we were so petrified. We don't think we had missing time, but neither of us can remember.
So that was
I
around...
still know her today, and she's in Wales. But neither of us, it was summer holidays and we didn't go out again. We were so frightened that we stayed home in our houses. And
Was there any kind of communication between yourself and the craft at all, or was the fear getting in the way of that?
I think the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, just petrified. And this big figure, I mean, he was a big sort of man thing.
Hello and welcome to another Ammach interview, and I guarantee there's something for everybody in this one. I'm here with the lovely Hilary Porter, who's had a lifelong experience of many things, too many to go into in my introduction, and I'm going to let her tell you all about it. And it begins in the late 1940s and has continued up until today. Not only just herself, but her daughter as well. Now, Hilary was an electronic engineer draftsman working at Marconi at the time of a huge security breach in 1974, which, as she will tell you, was not of this earth. Thank you for watching another Ammach video, and I'm going to hand you over to Hilary in just a moment. 2, 1. Hilary, welcome to an Ammach interview, and thank you
Hi,
very much for
Joanne.
your kindness. Now,
It's a pleasure.
we researchers, myself, I'm not an abductee and I haven't had experience, but I am passionately driven by this, your story. But you're also a researcher, Hilary.
Yes, I am.
And what is your project that you set up with your partner, Ken Parsons?
It's the British Earth and Aerial Mystery Society. Ken was running the society before we got together, but it's now 20 odd years old. But I've always been a researcher myself, and so we just pulled it all together. And
it's also known as BEAMS.
yes,
I
it
believe.
is BEAMS.
Wonderful. And your base is here also in Farnborough?
Yeah. And yes, he was very. He helped me when I was very scarred from the abductions and things to actually go and talk about it.
Right, lovely. So
that was
I'm
good.
going to take a little break here, and we're going to come back in 2 seconds, and we're going to hear from Hilary herself. Hilary, your story is absolutely fascinating, and perhaps you could tell us, because you were taken right from babyhood, what your mother actually had to tell you about that. Maybe
Yes,
that's a good place to start.
Indeed, it was only just over 4 years ago, and Mother was put into a comatose kind of state, which she was petrified, really absolutely petrified, and she would scream and no one could hear her or anything, and she knew something was happening to me, I was being taken, or she could do nothing to prevent this. Nothing.
Can I just ask, Hilary, sorry to interrupt, do you mean 4 years ago she actually told you for the
Yes,
first
she
time?
never told me, and I always had this disjointed thing, and when I was going on to the Rich Planet thing to make the documentary I did, she said, there is something I need to tell you because it doesn't gel, does it? And I said, no, it doesn't. And where was my mummy where was she when I
Yeah.
needed her the most? And I've always wondered where you were. And she said, well, now I can tell you. She said, it's scaring the hell out of me, but I will tell you. And she told me that
So-
this is what was happening to her.
Quite traumatic
Time and
for
time
her.
Again, yes.
Yeah.
It really was. Yeah, I felt poor, Mum.
Yeah. Okay, so